Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Spaced Out Radio edition tonight. I hope you're ready to board the Woo train because it's R Keith Andrews night and the ET connection. Yes, the final, what am I saying? Final. The first Friday of the month. It is time for the man, the myth, and the legend all rolled into one. Coming to his favorite home away from home, Mr. R Keith Andrews on Spaced Out Radio. SJ taking home the gold medal tonight. Race fan with a very close second taking the silver. And way down, we got Andrew bringing home the bronze tonight. Hey, 416 and the gorgeous Emily Bigelow, Alaska's greatest athlete. I got to show you what I got in the mail from Alaska's greatest athlete today. Check this out. How gorgeous is that? Seriously, how gorgeous is that? All right. That is beautiful. It's one of the nicest gifts I have received. I've received a lot of cool gifts from our listeners, but this is just unbelievable. Absolutely love it. Alaska's greatest athlete, and she will sit right there. So that way she gets a bird's eye view of the show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Gorgeous Cosmic Fleur is back. So is stunning Steph Dickey in Florida. Jay Breezy, the gorgeous Tina Smith, John Swan, Jeff Iarchik. How are you? Good to see you. Ed Clater is here, everyone. Ed Clater. Yes, Ed Clater has returned. And there we have the gorgeous and talented Laura Stevens. She has arrived. And the fake Antichrist, well, I guess that's an oxymoron name if I've ever heard one. Not moron, oxymoron. That's kind of cool. Aussie Ange from Australia, looking beautiful tonight, or this afternoon, tomorrow. How is tomorrow looking, by the way? Jeff Steve Garvey, good to see you. And scrolling on down, Super Gary's here. Chillin' Villain, good to see you. Gorgeous Jenny Metz. Nice to have you back. Hi, Nikki. How are you? Paul Holland from Australia. Oumuamua. Open-minded Clarity. Good to have you all here. Hey, Nicola and Mennonite Abe. Nice to have you back. YJ Overlander from Kelowna or somewhere around there. Good to have you here. R. Keith is from Kelowna as well. Doc from Wyoming is here. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Jazz Ramblings, Millennium, and Kings of Fist. Nice to have you all here. Thank you for coming on in. The gorgeous Raspberries will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the right of the studio. Valro, how are you? Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, and you rub Uncle Dale's Power Stash, you will get 14 straight days of good luck. You just got to find him in Austin. Moving on down. Let's see who else is here. Greg Moyes, how are you? The beautiful Yola Tengo has returned. The gorgeous Shiny Ray, there she is. Derek Lindsay, the lovely Marie S. from L.A. Mondak, how are you? Middle Child, the Natesters here. There he is, Big Bad Natefoot. BG's, good to see you. Chill Farm. Occam's Razor. Cable Guy Matt is here, everyone. Remember, you got to hit up Cable Guy Matt right now for your free piece of coaxial cable autographed by Cable Guy Matt. Remember, you cannot buy these in stores, people. Limit one per household. Yes, rare items. Raven and Gear, how are you? Welcome to our chat room. Travis DeLuca. The Philip Blair is here, everyone. The Philip Blair. BG's, how are you? Steve Stockton from KPNL. Nice to have you here, buddy. Sam Faz, thank you for joining us. And Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got pickles. You've got pickles, Joe. Yeah, you do. Ross Smith, good to see you. Rapala King, how are you? How's the fishing? And you're that Les Paul. You were going to send me pictures of that, by the way. You were going to send me pictures. I'm still waiting. And the luscious Jules has arrived. How you doing, beautiful? Good to see you. Thank you for coming on in. And Eulelio, what's happening? Where have you been hiding lately? The lovely Judy Wheeler has arrived, everyone. Mr. Man, Mr., otherwise known as Triple A on Mystery News. Good to see you. And who else we got here? Marty Burback is here. Welcome. The lovely Jennifer Hawkins. She will tip her cowboy hat to you. Or cowgirl hat. Marty McFly, oi to you. Kevin Berry, nice to see you. Thank you for coming on in. There he is, everyone. Tired of ramen, a.k.a. Derek. This man is the conductor of the Woo train. There he is. Look at that. Woo! Absolutely. There he is. You know he's excited for this one. Star A, what's happening? Nice to have you here. J1, you're looking lovely tonight. Thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate that. And I think we are pretty much good to go here, everyone. So sit back, relax. We got some R Keith right now. Well, in like 5 seconds. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor. Hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Well, he's back, ladies and gentlemen, as the first week of every new month, we bring in R Keith Andrews of the ET Connection. We all jump aboard the Woo train and let Keith take us to places we didn't know existed. Keith is a lifelong experiencer who now helps counsel those who are experiencers themselves, trying to ask and answer those questions that everyone wants to know, namely, why me? Now, this show is a little bit different if you're tuning in for the first time. We do deal with a lot of audience participation. So if you're in one of our chat rooms or on Twitter, make sure you post your questions in capital letters. I will get them to Keith. Keith, what's going on, man?
Mind you, that's what we get for being stuck in the middle of a heat wave.
It has been hot. You know what? I took a drive around our area this evening before the show, and east and southeast of me, I counted 7 forest fires, including one that had just started southeast of me. And as we were driving, the fire trucks were passing us on the other side, racing to that one. And a couple of them, about 4 of them, are absolutely massive. Thank goodness, no danger to where I am at SOR headquarters just yet. But as we've said ever since 2017, when the big fires happened here, you know, the big fires back then hit north, west, and south. This time it's south and east that are getting hit. And, you know, man, just seeing all that forest fire smoke in the sky, man, just absolutely driving me nuts. It's so sad.
Well, let's face it, it's been harsh on a lot of people. I mean, we finally broke the barrier and come back down again. Like this morning, we woke up and it was only like 20 degrees out, which was such a nice change.
Tell me about it. It's so much easier to breathe, man. Like for our American listeners who are in those hot areas, we're not used to this up here. I mean, it'll get a hot day is, 38, 39 degrees. That's about 100 degrees. But when you start getting into the 102, 105, 106, 121, we're just not used to that. Even where you are, Keith, right in the middle of the desert in Kelowna, British Columbia.
Yeah, we are normally, I mean, it's quite normal here at this time of year to get into 33, 35, but this issue of getting into 44, no.
Right.
Of course, the other thing to keep in mind for those of you that don't know Celsius, that puts us at about 110.
Hotter.
Oh, yeah, it's just insane.
Yeah. How do the aliens like the heat?
Well, that depends on which ones. Most of them are a lot more adjusted to it. Of course, they've got working air conditioning for the most part.
Well, that's nice.
But if you watch the bigger fires, you might even get to see an elemental down there. It's got to be one heck of a hot fire for that one, for them to come through, though.
I bet. Well, let's ask you, how have you been for ET Contact recently?
It's been intriguing. There's a lot of chatter going on about what happens now that things are starting to, now that the pandemic is slowly being moved into the back burner. Right. There's a lot of question from them about how people are going to react to it. To what humans are calling the new world. And realistically, it's not a new world. But they are fascinated by the amount that people are, and by the varied way that people are reacting to it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because humans have a tendency of reacting in a very disconnected fashion. When you take a look at the Talons, when they run into a fire, they literally will sacrifice each other in order for the colony to survive. Right. I mean, it's funny if you're looking to understand Talons, watch the way that fire ants, that the army ants in South America work. Right. And you'll see basically the same idea. But humans have such an erratic approach that the off-worlders are looking at it going, how do they function as a society, much less how do they thrive? Which is what concerns them where it comes to space exploration. Because mankind has a real neat tendency of taking the most logical approach to things, throwing it right out the window, and still succeeding. Or in the case of space travel, right out the airlock.
Very true. Very true. So, right now with everything that's going on the planet, the pandemic, lots of fires here around, not only British Columbia, but North America as well. You have, water bombers are flying over right now. You have a lot going on around the world, and there's all this talk about UFO disclosure happening. How are the ETs reacting? Because my focus for you tonight is about who wants disclosure. Is it humans or is it the extraterrestrials? And that's what I actually wanted to get in with you tonight.
Quite frankly, it's the humans that want it. The off-worlders have a very definitive outlook that full disclosure is not a wise move. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Okay, but their biggest concern is that human society has evolved in such a fashion that acknowledging the off-worlders would in all likelihood create a staggering amount of cross-current. And then we're not just talking amongst the people that believe in UFOs and the ones that don't. We're talking about the entire culture, and culture is built on essentially denial. Which is really neat when you look at the people that have experienced it. I mean, let's face it, none of us that have experienced it are sitting here going, are we alone? Right. But the off-worlders are looking at it going, the one complaint that I get from a number of them, especially the Chitauri, which aren't actually off-worlders. But the one argument I get a lot of is how can humans sit there and say that we as reptilians, as the umbrella group, want to take over the world, want to bother wasting time with the political system. I was talking to one of the military advisors, and they went, if we wanted to take over their political system, why would we bother infiltrating it? Why not just wipe out the leaders and just take over? According to them, the way they put it was the whole idea of infiltrating a political system in order to take a planet out just doesn't add up to a whole lot of functional time. It's a waste of resource for them.
All right, let's get right to audience questions here. Jeff is asking, or he's making a comment here. He says, hope and hugs to Canada that these fires get under control by the brave men and women fighting it. Absolutely. They are incredible what they are doing up here. And, every day from like dawn until dusk, the airplanes are coming on in and they are bombing the heck out of all of these fires. And never mind the brave souls who are on the ground doing the real boots on the ground dirty work. But man, they are tough. They are tough. Absolutely, Jeff. And we send lots of love and prayers to all of them as well. Let's get to, a question here from Starflower. Welcome to the show, Starflower. In human history, has ancient humans interacted with off-worlders to fuel this idea that you just mentioned, Keith?
Humans have technically the answer would be, I suspect, yes. When you think that the Norse gods, were the Nordic people. The thing was, that's why all of a sudden the Norse gods just all of a sudden vanished. But the reality of it is, did they come in and say, let's take over the world? That was brought about quite literally in the late 70s, early 80s by a movie concoction called V. That's where that whole thing rooted. Which is why the reptilians are always targeted as the ones trying to take over the world.
Well, that would make sense. Eulalia is asking, I thought their supernatural powers would have them adjust for any type of weather. Right now in New Mexico, it has rain for 2 weeks from the last 2 weeks of June until now. I give praise to the firefighters. Oh, yes, that's for the firefighters as well. Yes, good energy for them. Good energy for them. Absolutely. We need that. Keith, for you, when you are looking at and getting in communication with extraterrestrial species, especially around the time where they are a hot topic, probably the hottest topic ever in the history of ufology right now over the last couple of months, when they come down, do they even know what's going on?
Oh, the answer there is yes. And you and I discussed this quite some time ago, Dave. But they watch shows like Spaced Out Radio to keep an eye on to keep a finger on the pulse of the common populace. They don't pay a whole lot of attention to the government, right? Because the government doesn't tend to give the information in the first place. But they certainly keep an eye on what's going on to see how the common humans, if you will, are responding.
Well, what's their opinion so far?
It's erratic. And they're still trying to figure out how humans even are surviving. Like, what they don't get is how, with the amount of conflict, how mankind managed to get through the last 2 years specifically. Amazingly enough, whoever put that way, I'm looking, the reality of it is they keep a very close eye on how people are interacting. But before people ask, are they going to come down and put out the fires? Not unless Esau directly says, I need help. Esau being, by the way, who you call Gaia or Mother Earth.
Right. All right. Let's go to Chuck's question. Are the aliens heating us up on purpose, Keith, or is it just us stupid humans?
The answer is no to either. The aliens aren't doing it to start with. And although humans are polluting the place and it's not helping things, they are not the cause for the warming. Okay, what is happening is Earth itself is just simply going through a normal cycle.
I would agree with that.
Granted, it's about 10,000 years overdue according to human calculation. According to her, it's right on schedule.
All right, let's get to another one. This one from Mr. Fake. If they, the aliens, made us or even just abducted and cloned us to study our clones, do you think they have humans living somewhere else other than Earth, like a backup just in case we blow ourselves up?
Well, we sort of have to cover that in a few different sections. Number one, technically, it wasn't aliens that made us. It wasn't humans were an enhancement, but they were not the. They're only technically alien in as much as they got here after the planet did. But there is a race that is older than man that was directly responsible for it. Okay, but they did, and they, in answer to the question, do they have a backup? Number one, this isn't a petri dish, so the answer to the first part of that would be no. But are there humans on other planets? Yeah. Mobius itself is a colony of Earth. About 40,000 years ago, mankind left Earth and ended up on, they left Earth and ended up on Mobius, which is on the other side of the sun. But mankind will never see Mobius from Earth because it's in the exact same orbit and speed as the Earth itself.
Okay. Let's go to Oumuamua. Would they allow or prevent us from nuking each other?
In small amounts, no. In small amounts, if you want to wipe out a city with a nuke, they don't care. If it's going to go to global nuclear devastation, they'll shut it down. Because at that point, it destroys the library. Their concern is the planet, not the humans.
I can see that. I can totally see that. Why don't they care about the species?
Because the species is a blink. The species is only a couple million years old. The planet is about 4.5 billion years old. Okay, boiling down to something in the neighborhood, my math right now is not doing great, but probably about 4,000 times as old as what mankind is. So man doesn't really matter to them from that standpoint. I mean, it matters in as much as humans are the caretakers. But if the caretakers decide to commit suicide, other caretakers will evolve. And until then, the off-worlders will step in to help. Kind of like in the old days when the king was killed, a steward would step in to take care of the crown prince until the crown prince got old enough.
True. YJ is asking, is the warming because our magnetosphere has dwindled?
Partly. Okay, again, that's part of the standard cycle. The magnetosphere actually, it does fluctuate. And as it weakens, it ends up turning around. Like as the magnetosphere weakens, the temperature rises. But what ends up happening is that then the magnetosphere restabilizes itself and the temperature drops back down to a functional level. Ironically, it's actually the negativity that humans are building that is causing more damage than the pollution.
All right. I would agree with you on that. But I also agree that every now and then Mother Nature gets really pissed off at us and decides to, clean house, so to speak, a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Absolutely.
All right. Joe, who has very nice hair, is asking, are the Mobians aware of us?
Absolutely. I've seen them come by periodically. They actually have regular visits, if you will.
Do you invite them in for tea?
No, I don't like tea. Coffee, but I'm just not a tea drinker, so I don't keep the stuff in the house.
All right. Husky is asking, how old is Big Carl, Dave's sexy alien friend with benefits? How old's Carl, Keith?
If I remember correctly, I mean, I don't usually bother with asking how old they are, but I believe he's pushing about 2,500 years.
Oh, nice. He's an old bastard.
He is. And he still hasn't figured out he's supposed to follow the rules.
When's he coming back? I'm getting a little tired. Not getting any action.
That is an excellent question. I like it.
I'm hoping you'll answer it because I kind of need that to make a radio show here.
That's something I'm gonna have to see what I can do about pulling that off. But that just means I got to make a trip out to Zeta Reticuli and see if I can undo what he did.
You pull away, buddy. You pull away.
I said it just means I got to make a trip out to Zeta Reticuli and see if we can explain exactly why he did what he did.
I'm sure he'll figure it out. I'm sure he will. Minister Elaine, who we absolutely love and adore around here, she is asking, who are the aliens that Admiral Byrd encountered? Now, Admiral,
I'm going to have to plead ignorance because I don't even know the description of what Admiral Byrd worked with.
Well, Admiral Byrd, we'll find it here for you to get a proper definition. He was an American naval officer, recipient of, hold on. He was a recipient of the Medal of Honor, and he really did a lot of work navigating around the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans and the Antarctic Plateau. Many believe that he did have some sort of ET contact in Antarctica.
Oh, that makes it relatively easy. Just about 100,000 people that he could have run into. But, you know. But if we're looking at the off-worlders, the odds are he's likely looking at Lycan. Did he give any sort of a description of the people that he was dealing with? Because as you yourself know, Dave, a lot of the races I don't know by the current names.
We'll find out. Maybe Minister Elaine knows a little bit more about that. She could type it in our chat room. Alien Critter, welcome to the show, is asking, are there any bipedal shark-headed aliens out there?
Bipedal, no. Not that I'm aware of. But there are waterborne ones. Like, they don't walk upright. They will if they have to come on land, but they, on the whole, stay in the water.
Great. So another planet I'm not going to.
That's this one.
They don't walk on our land.
I said they may. But no, what we see here usually is them in the water.
Yes. Yes. All right. We got time for one more 30 seconds here. Let's go to Mennonite Abe, who is asking, do aliens play video games?
Well, they call them video games. We call them interstellar combat. You know, the funny, and I mean, the mechanism is basically the same. You shoot the other guy's ship, and it blows up. Problem is, they use ones with real people in them.
Oh, nice. Keith, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we have turned up the woo from 7 to 8 to 9. And now let's get to that peak of 10 out of 10 for the big woo tonight. R Keith Andrews is here for the ET Connection. Keith comes in the first week of every new month to talk about ET Contact. We love him around here. We'll be back with more R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection right after this. Solid start so far.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, I mean, I love the interaction we get.
Me too, man. Me too. Let's see what I'm missing here. That'll be our next question right there. If you could do 6 or 7 lines of blow with an alien race a few times a week, Which would you choose? Why? Do they like to party hard? Oh, God. I'll let you answer that one during the break and not during the radio show. Which aliens are you doing blow with, Keith?
I won't touch the stuff. I did long enough. I did enough of it on my own. I ain't about to go back to it.
All right. All right. Break question. The heart of that question. All right. Let's see here. The Husky has apparently visited Zeta Practiculi. Very nice. Arthur, you're on fire tonight. You were on fire. Big Fat Creep, how you doing? Good to see you. Let's see. Who else we got? Stetson John, nice to have you here. Admiral Byrd apparently ran into tall, blonde, blue-eyed aliens.
Oh, Aldebarans.
Hello, Sean. Caleb Gardner, welcome to the show. Major Lee, thanks for coming on in. And Robert Moobley, good to have you here. Cashew, nice to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And let's see, who else is here? Let's see here. Evil Carl with another super chat. Another evil super chat. Thank you so much, Evil Carl. Really do appreciate that. Thank you, Michael, for kicking off the super chat tonight. Bonjour, Julien. Comment ça va? People, don't mind Husky Travel Boy in the chat room tonight. He is just very upset. That is Montreal, or Les Canadiens du Montréal are down 3-0 to the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Stanley Cup playoffs. All right. He's a little pissy right now. Opa de Greco, how are you? And let's see who else has jumped on in here. Let's see here. Oh, Lon Strickler, I can't wait to have you on. You're on soon. Let me check my calendar here. Well, look at that. Lon Strickler's on Monday. Look at that. Lon effing Strickler here on Monday. I will have to have my beard in perfect shape for him. Let's see here. And Jerry O'Brien, nice to see you. The stunning and talented Kira, welcome to the show. And let's see. Richard Elmore, nice to have you here. Stone Hobbit, you're looking beautiful tonight. Oh, let's see here. Definitely not FBI. Welcome to the show. Are you NSA or NRO? Let us know. Maybe CIA. That'd be kind of cool. Come say hello. Rob Aggs, welcome to the show again. A double hello to you. NP, nice to see you here. North Star, welcome. Well, let's go right back to the top here. I missed some. Everyone, I'm going to tell you right now, I did miss some questions. I did. I apologize. Please, if I haven't read your question, please type your question in capital letters, except for you, Bart. And I will get to them and kind of go from there. As I'm scrolling on down, making sure I'm catching up. No, Bart, it's not true. It's not true. That's bad. Bad Barther. You know, just because your team forgot how to score goals, don't take it out on me, man. $20 seconds here, and let's see. A great way to support this show is by hitting that subscribe button. We're almost at 13,000 or 12,700. Let's make that happen. Thank you to the super chat as well. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Appreciate you tuning us in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with R Keith Andrews and the ET connection tonight. We're going to go straight to audience questions. Nikki is asking, Keith, which races of ETs are shapeshifters?
I was gonna say the amoeboids, which are. It's just the name of them, because there are very few that are actually shapeshifters. Hence why I keep this book handy, because I can't keep track of the name. I can't keep track of the names of people. Never mind everything else. So I just write the whole 9 yards down. But most of what people think are shapeshifters, some have technology, but most are not. There's only one race that is full-blown shapeshift. And we are just looking for exactly what the name of them actually is. And where the heck are we? No, that won't work. Yeah, I would love to give you the names right off the top of my head, but unfortunately that becomes a bit of a problem for me half the time. And I wish I could give you a definite. But I'll keep looking for that, and I'll give you the definitive answer in a minute. But they are essentially 160-pound amoeboid, meaning they don't have a physical body.
All right. Let's move on to Jenny's question here. Which group of aliens are abducting people and why?
Well, I'm going to answer the first question first, and I'll get to the other one. The amoeboid, the ones I called amoeboid, those are Corlocks.
Okay.
And to give you an idea, do you remember the show's 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Never saw it.
You really should. That shows you a Corlock ship. But the answer to the other question they were dealing with, as far as which race is abducting humans and why, well, which race isn't would be a shorter list. And the why is just about as varied as the number of different scientific search pods that they've got out. It's kind of like asking what are humans researching in the medical labs. You know, they are going after everything from evolutionary modifications to societal implications of an atmospheric alteration. Although I will tell you, the Martokians are not happy with certain things that are going on right now. You know, humans are talking about colonizing Mars, which is kind of along the same lines as saying, let's go invade another planet. But I mean, the Greys are abducting people for the hybridization program. Teklex are abducting a few people for dinner. And by the way, that's not as in let's take them out for a party that the humans are going to like.
All right, let's move on to Travis's question. You mentioned elementals earlier. Can you explain further?
Yeah. Elementals are another race that literally are made up of the elements. There are three types of elementals. Earth elementals, which have a tendency of causing earthquakes or attending the area when they happen. Okay, then you've got your fire elementals. Well, fire elementals are living fire. And you need a pretty fair-sized fire for them to show up. Okay, because I mean, basically what they do is they show up and they participate in the fire because that's how they eat, by consuming things. As soon as you have a decent forest fire here, they can come in, grab a snack, and have no problem. Nobody worries about them because they come in, they're right smack in the middle of the fire. Everybody gets worried about the fire itself. The elemental comes and goes as he wants. And then of course you got your. It depends on who you ask whether they're water elementals or they're air elementals. Okay, but they're both the same element. So it sort of depends on the density of them at the time. Like you'll find, like especially when you get into the your little dust devils and twisters, quite often that's an air elemental popping into the area just to take a little look, right? Or you get into the water spout, the little water spout, same idea. It's called rambunctious children. And
Valro is asking, which alien race is from around Catalina Island in California, and are they flying the trans-medium craft?
Down in Catalina, as far as that goes, if we're talking the underwater, that'd be the merfolk, but they don't fly craft above the surface. Okay, you might be looking at radio command, depending on which ships, because there's a few different ones down there. But I'm curious of the term transmedium.
That's what they're calling shape-shifting craft.
Okay.
The government is, the U.S. government.
Oh. That's the mechlinoids.
The mechlinoids.
And they are literally, and the craft, by the way, are not craft. They're mechlinoids. They are mechanical shapeshifters.
Are they piloted?
No. A little hard to pilot something. It's kind of like asking if your arm is piloted.
Okay, so they're transformers, more than meets the eye.
For lack of a better way of putting it, yes.
Are they Decepticons or Autobots?
That depends. Are you going to shoot at them and ask them if they're friendly?
I'm not doing it. I'll leave that for Uncle Dale and his power stash. All right. Starflower is asking, do aliens have social media accounts on their planet and on Earth? How does it work if so?
First of all, as far as social media goes, it depends entirely on the race. But on the whole, it's not a social media. It is simply a global or a ship-wide network. Okay. Because what they do is they deal with biomagnetic source coding, which means essentially it's kind of like thumbprint, right? The moment you log in, you don't have an account any more than in Canada we have a SIN. It's basically in Canada you have a SIN number. In the States you have a social security number. Same idea. But you don't have to have a specific account. The fact is that the electronics are up and running. All you have to do is access a comm panel. Now, if you're dealing with the Mobians, they don't have one at all because they're telepathically connected. So they don't rely on electronics.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Michael's question. Which race flies liquid ships?
Well, we do know the Odina can, or not the Odina, rather, the Korlock can. Okay, but your elementals are more often than not the ones that he's referring to. Oh, and which ones are they now? I'm trying to remember what the heck they're called. There is a race that actually, they don't run a liquid ship, they grow the dang things. But what people are calling liquid ships, the mechlinoids, again, you might mistake it as a liquid ship because it adjusts to form depending on what the atmosphere is that they're dealing with. That's where it becomes an interesting setup. See, the Archon as they evolve are living ships, but they're not liquid. They're biological.
Uncle Dale is asking, please describe the mass media or entertainment media of the various races.
The simplest answer is biomagnetic holographic interface. Basically, the easiest way to look at it is if you watch any of the Marvel shows that show you Iron Man, what they depict on Iron Man, that is essentially the way their computers work, with the added advantage of you can redesign the computer on the fly.
Okay. And they use that for communication? Do they have their own? Do they have their own Channel 7 news team on board?
You see, you don't require a news team when you're completely linked with the entire population via the network.
So they have their own ANN, Alien News Network.
Well, they don't call it alien because you got to remember they're from there.
Okay.
But again, humans have a news network because humans can't get like most people in Canada can't just pop over to Australia and see what's going on. Right. In many of these races cases, because of the way their entire network works, all you have to do is just log into your local toaster and you'll know what's happening in the south end of the world.
Travis is asking, can you please explain what elementals are and what they do?
Now, that would take a very long time.
Well, give us a break here. We got a few minutes.
In a nutshell, elementals are entities that do not have physical form. They are composed of the basic elements and semi-elements, much like Earth. Okay, as in air, water, earth, electricity, magma, shadow, light. I mean, these are all different types of elementals. And they interact and reproduce just like, I was going to say just like everything else of that caliber. Basically, sorry, I believe it's called mitosis, if I remember correctly. As in, they don't have partners. They literally simply replicate. Like the Corlock. When the Corlock reach a certain age, they simply split. And ultimately, I mean, what they do is they've got their entire own society. Right. But they are basically, they run most of them on a matriarchal society, except the combat side of things, which is done on a patriarchal basis. In other words, the females run the society as in, will build or will lay out the social structure. Males, you go out and do the enforcing.
All right. Let's get to Jules' question. What do off-worlders think about World UFO Day?
Well, they don't have any functional use for it. What they can't figure out is by the word that people use UFO to mean, they don't understand why everybody doesn't just automatically accept the fact that it's there. Why do you have it? What they keep asking is, why do you have a day that you focus on the unknown, on the unknowns? Okay, it's not just one day of the day. That was a blunt way to put it. It's not just one day of the year that humans are confused. It's virtually every one of the days. So why only have it on one day? I mean, there are some races that look at it going, well, if there's a reason, I mean, the dwarven race, which is not off-worlder, they're ancient race. But like they say, if you're going to have a day to have a party, why only have one? Why not make it 365? Yeah, you're still going to have to work during the party days, but where's the harm in that? They don't see, you got to remember, on the whole, the off-worlders do not have a special day, for anything. Like some of the different races in different areas have a celebration because of a conquest that happened or because of some major celebration, major breakthrough that they made. But that's localized. That's not on a global thing.
Okay. Definitely not FBI is asking what powers their craft: gravitational, electrical, electromagnetic, etc.
The actual term is the biomagnetic. No, let me try that again. It's the oscillatory densification of the oscillatory densification of the tri-transformational equilaterity. Basically, they run off the shock wave created by loose electrons. When an electron leaves the orbit of an atom, it creates a shock wave in the energy field between atoms while it's making its way to the next atom. Now, this is just a normal, everyday, basic physical transition. But the OTE drive is run off of the shock wave created by the electrons, which is why they don't have a power shortage. Now, I'm betting that came out kind of like Swahili by the look.
Close. Either way, I mean, is it some sort of free energy?
Yes.
It's not nuclear or anything like that.
Not in the slightest. Although nuclear does make it a whole lot easier to power it up using the OTE drive. And if it makes you feel any better, in order to describe that properly, it took me about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours, talking to somebody that had their master's in both rocketry and astrophysics.
Next question comes from Majdi. What is the speculation about ET languages? What is the speculations about their way of communication between them?
I'm afraid I don't understand the question.
How do they talk? How do they communicate?
Telepathic, auditory, semantic, actual linguistics, and periodically on hieroglyphics. But the hieroglyphics are usually used on a triphasic interface. Basically, what triphasic writing is you write down three separate concepts on 3 different sheets. You put those 3 different sheets on top of each other. Picture, if you will, marking 3 lines on onion paper. Okay. Lay them on top of each other, line them properly. On their own, they're just 1 line apiece. But when you line them up properly, all of a sudden you've got an A. Now, picture that with a full doctrine written out, and then lay it over top. That's triphasic writing.
Aaron is asking, is there really a blue skin race like Indian folklore says?
Yeah, they're called Pleiadian hybrids. Plus, of course, what humans called the Andorians. I'm still trying to piece together what the actual name is. What Star Trek called Andorians were blue-skinned. Okay, and I do not off the top of my head remember what they were, what their actual name is. I've got it written down in volume 2. I know that because I was looking into them the other day.
All right. Greco is asking, how do I kill the entire consortium? Should they be endangering our planet? We have no representation.
The fact he's even considering that says we're dealing with somebody highly suicidal. The entire population of the planet working together couldn't take out their main battleship, never mind the rest of it. I mean, you got to remember, the Consortium's main battleship, their main gun, you take the Titanic, you turn it broadside and slide that into the barrel. If you turn it broadside and slide it into the barrel of their main gun, they've still got room to maneuver. Okay, these people have planet buster technology. Like, humans are not going to get anywhere near them.
All right, let's move on. YJ is asking, what species of aliens are translucent or use translucent blue light saucer craft?
Quite often, the Pleiadian hybrids will use them. The light blue is simply because of the wavelength. It's not technically the color they bother with.
All right. Nicole is asking, as we got about 2 minutes here, Keith, before we're going to break at the top of the hour. We always hear about good and bad aliens. What do the bad ones want to do to humans?
Dinner. That was pretty much the easiest way to put it. I mean, you got ones that want them for dinner. You got ones that want to sell them for shingles. But I mean, there are good and bad people. There's good and bad aliens. It's not a racial thing or a species thing. I mean, you cannot effectively take any one race, one species, and go, they're good or they're bad. I mean, even with the Teclec, they ended up in a civil war because they did not agree with their own leaders' doctrine on what to do with Earth.
Let's sneak in one more question here before we go to break. Excalibur full. Have any alien races explained how their ships are powered?
That was the thing we were talking about a little bit ago about the OTE drive. Now, like I said, it'd take about an hour and a half, 2 hours to really explain it. I'm not a scientist. I know how the thing works, but there is not a prayer that I can translate it into technical terms.
All right, let's see if we can sneak one more in here. If you believe in evolution, what did the aliens evolve from? Asked the gorgeous Jennifer.
I love questions like that because we are talking about such a wide array of evolution. Okay, some evolved from their own, some transformed from one state to another, and literally I'm referring to from one state of matter to another. It's not just a question of one evolutionary pattern. I mean, you take a look at the Zerzik. Now, the Zerzik came from a very different form. Okay, but they have spanned universal flips.
All right, man, we're going to wrap it up right there. Hour number 1 with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection is complete. And we got hour number 2 coming up next, where we'll continue with audience questions. We'll learn about what the ETs think about disclosure and so much more. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. He's a monthly guest here. We bring on the woo. The woo train is in top speed heading into hour 2 next on Spaced Out Radio. I almost died laughing at Barther's question. Can aliens touch their toes without getting a mouthful of their own prick?
Why do these people come up with some of these?
Well, that's my friend. That's my friend right there. Oh, God, you're funny. Just makes me laugh. Just makes me laugh. All right, Keith, I'm gonna run away. You can chat with the audience if you want.
Well, I would. Unfortunately, I can't get into the chat room to figure out. Like, I can't even find the chat room. But I'm not exactly
going. Just tell them a story about from like 1987.
Yeah, I got to figure out when that was.
I'll be back.
No, the thing that people have to realize is when we are dealing with aliens, number one, we are talking about, well, I've got documented right now somewhere just in excess of 100 different races that I've personally dealt with. They all have their own evolution. They've got their own roots, their own societal layout. Okay, so what we're looking at is such a wide array. Like when we start talking about the idea of reptilians doing anything, you got to understand there's at least a dozen different reptilian races that I can think of right off the top of my head. Okay. And could I give you the names right offhand? No, I can tell you what their evolutionary background is. But there are 4 races of reptilians that actually evolved here on Earth. A lot of people will argue the point, and that's okay. And on that note, I'm going to walk away for a second because I have to deal with this. Sorry about that, people. That was because I was on shift and I had to log out. Now I'm not on shift. Anyway, that being said, when you're taking a look at reptilians specifically, the Chitauri they actually evolved originating in Africa. They have since had colonies move over into the southern states. And I know of at least one outreach group that's gone into Antarctica and into the inner world. Okay. Then you've got 3 dinosaurs that literally, on top of evolving as dinosaurs, and in some cases evolving into chickens, your Tyrannosaurus Rex, your Pachycephalosaurus, and the Spidocosaurus are all other races that evolved on Earth. And if you're looking for them, you'll have to go inside. You'll have to go into what people call inner Earth or Middle Earth. Okay, that is ultimately what you're looking at. Now, as far as the number of different evolutionary paths, we got to remember that we are talking about races that have evolved over literally tens of millions of years. We are not talking about children races. Humans are only about 2 million years old from the beginning of their evolution to now. Okay, and mankind is only just barely getting their head back on straight. Now, this is the third that I'm aware of. This is the third time that mankind has made it into outer space. About 40,000 years ago, they had world peace. Those people are the ones that colonized Mobius. Okay. Now, when we go back into ancient Greece, it was supposed to be such a backwards place and so technologically stunted. They had air travel, as did the ancient Egyptians. Okay. Had they lived a little longer, they would have made it into space. They made it into transportation, but into aerial transport. But they didn't make it into outer space. Now, of course, Rome was a lot more evolved than what they would like you to think, than what they would like you to know. Than what the human historians would like you to believe.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm still breathing. I had to put myself on pause for a half a second because my boss phoned in and I had to log in.
There you go.
So I did.
There you go. All right. We've got about a minute and a half here. Big thank you to Jeremy, Evil Carl ×2, and Michael for the awesome super chats. It's a great way to support this show on a nightly basis. Thank you to all of our new subscribers out there. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. And that's about it. That's all I got. Oh, thank you to the veterans out there as well. We love you for tuning us in. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And we got about 20 seconds, Keith.
Okay.
One
of these days, I'm going to have to figure out how to actually get into your chat rooms because I have never been able to find them on the first run ever.
If you go to the right of the screen, there's a little box that says comments.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. The problem is that I can't get to the bottom to get at where
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Welcome everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Metallogeny. Metallogeny is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, which happens at the beginning of every month here on Spaced Out Radio, where we take your questions from the audience. Ask Keith as he helps answer everything weird and strange. Yes, board the woo train for this one. And Keith, we're going to start off with a question from Duke right off the bat. What about larvae from space or stars or sky jellyfish?
The answer to that question is number one, yes, they exist. And if you give me 10 seconds, I literally had just added those to volume 2. I know exactly what he's referring to. Jellyfish themselves are not exactly alien, but they are escapees, as it were. But see, no, that would be the squids. I was going to say the Udina, but those are actually more squid-like than anything else. But are there organisms from outer space? The Archon are essentially at birth they're a parasite. Okay, and they will live inside a human until they're ready to evolve. At which point they pop out of the human and carry on. They will eventually grow because they will keep taking on new hosts or taking on new form, if you will, until they can get off the planet so they can actually roam the skyways.
All right.
So are they? There we go. What have we got here? Oh, yes, the Johan. The Johan are what people would call, or are the jellyfish type people. And their communication line is all on a subsonic and optics. They do not have a spoken language per se.
Jenny is wondering, I wonder if some aliens wear clothing.
Yes. Most wear clothing.
With the tight bodysuits.
Try that again.
With the tight bodysuits.
Usually it's because of an atmospheric adjustment. Like, especially when you look at people coming from low ground. Okay, the bodysuits are actually designed to keep them contained. If you're dealing with when you're dealing with the merfolk, they literally have to use them if they're going to breathe above water. They're environmental suits, in other words. You go to the Strazazian homeworld, humans have to wear a bodysuit. The Strazazians don't. They're quite fine with it. But the problem with that is that when you get when you get into their atmosphere. On Earth, if we get a sandstorm will blind you temporarily. On the Strazazian homeworld, a sandstorm will strip a human to the bone in a matter of minutes. It's a heck of a messy way to go.
All right, Big J is asking, which race of lizard people built the catacombs under Los Angeles?
Now, this is going to sound really backwards, but they didn't. Esau built them. They just utilized them. But the Strazazians helped a lot with it. The Teklik, only a very few of them did. But most of those, as far as reptilians went, humans did a great deal of the manufacturing, as far as lining them goes. But the catacombs themselves are part of Esau's skin, if you will, or epidermis, or dermis, depending on who you talk to. That's all right. For.
Open-minded Clarity wants to know which race are responsible for the cattle mutilation seen across the United States.
There's a few of them, and oddly enough, I'd be inclined to say humans are part of the problem. Okay, but that being said, you will find the Teklik are known to do it, but they do it because they're after a very specific delicacy. Okay, they get in trouble when they take too many humans, so they found a substitute. Okay, but there are some, when you take a look at the vegans, they have been known to do it because they are trying to understand nervous systems. Okay, so what they do is they go after the most delicate nervous system available in order to sort it out without an overload of data. And of course, if you look at the Muldocs, well, frankly, they don't do shall we say, a clean job of anything.
All right, let's move on here. YJ is asking, can you explain how your experience with the Pleiadian hybrids went?
Oh, yeah, that was the easy part. I was actually over at the Experiencer Speak conference in 2013. And a person I was with pointed at this chap on the other side of the room, and understanding my eyes don't work that well at a distance, and really didn't then. They pointed them out and went, "What's with the guy with the blue skin?" And I looked at the person that asked me, and I says, "Which one?" So she goes, "The one with the white hat." I said, "I don't know. Let me go check." So I walked straight over to the guy. I got about 10 feet from him, and I looked at him, and I stopped, and I went, "Are you by any chance Pleiadian?" And he goes, "Yes." So I shifted gears. I went, "Well, great." I says, "Welcome to Earth." I said, if you're gonna show up at a place where you at least have a shot at being accepted. So he stuck his hand out to shake mine, and the thing is that his pigmentation moved. Like if you've ever seen the old from back in the 70s or early 80s, they used to have these stickers that were filled with oil. You remember how you used to push on those and the oil would move all over the place?
Yes.
Same thing happened with the pigmentation in this guy's skin. So and you could feel it move, which was a really weird feeling. And I asked him, I says, "Can you explain how that works?" So he says, "I'm a shifter." He says, some of us can control our pigmentation so that we can look normal and blend in a little easier. Now, in his case, he was with another Pleiadian hybrid, and I never did catch his name, and a Nordic, and he was also with a Nordic, which is quite normal, plus a human liaison. Well, I talked to him, and for the first year, I had the photograph. I asked if we could get a picture of him, and he goes, "Yes, but do not show anybody." So I'm like, "Okay, no problem, I won't." And I mean, you remember the conflict we had with the audience really wanting to look at that picture for the longest time,
Right.
right? And then a year later, I went back, and he was there the next year, and I got his permission to actually let people see the picture. But the neat part about it was a lot of people had said they dealt with off-worlders all the time face to face. The fascinating thing I found was that they didn't recognize him. They knew that they were a little weird, and these guys had no concept of what physical money was, none at all. So the next morning, when we started talking down in the conference, people were saying, "Oh, did you see these guys?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got a photo of them." It's like, "How did you do that?" I said, "We asked." Right. So we showed the photo to the people that were at the event. But when I started doing the research, well, before I did the research, when this chap left, we were in a conference room inside the hotel. You had to go from the conference room to the lobby and then outdoors. I watched these four people walk out of the conference room halfway across the lobby, and they literally dematerialized. Okay, right in front of everybody, they just faded out of existence. Now, this was such an event that even the guests that were not at the event were asking the hotel owners who the blue people were. When I did a little bit more poking around, a little bit more research, it turned out that a couple of the people had actually witnessed them coming in, showing up exactly the same way. They materialized in the lobby. Okay. Now, I was lucky the following year, that same hybrid came to the event. Okay, and then spent a week with us at the after event party. Okay, so I spent a fair chunk of time talking to him. But see, you'll never see a true Pleiadian on Earth, because the atmosphere of a true Pleiadian of Earth will kill a true Pleiadian. But in a nutshell, that was how they did it. They can control the ones that are brought down. Are trained to control their pigmentation, so they can alter the coloring of it to make them look essentially human. Skeletally speaking, they're already basically human. Okay, but they alter their pigmentation so they blend in a little better. The big difference between true Pleiadians and humans are true Pleiadians have translucent skin. You can see straight through it. The hybrids, their skin is solid, so you can't see through it, but they've got control over the pigmentation. And you can literally feel it.
All right, let's move on to the next question here. Jenny is asking, R. Keith, is the military collapsing underground tunnels?
If you're asking if human military is doing it, no. But there are some underground tunnels that are being collapsed and are also being rebuilt. They're being reoriented, I think is a better way to put it. It's kind of like taking out a road and putting the road elsewhere. Funny thing is, the technology they've got in the inner Earth is they can drop a city out from underneath mankind. Like they could take an entire. Now I forget what city DuPont's in. Okay, but they can do it in such a way that they could literally, let's say, take the DuPont factory, drop the city into a hole around it, and leave it sitting on a spire, if they wanted to.
Wow.
But, I mean, mankind, the only time that they collapse tunnels is, quite frankly, by ignorance and stupidity. Stupidity meaning they know it better. That's a good thought. I like it.
Keith, we got to go to this question each time because there's always people who question your stories and your knowledge as being outlandish. Where do you get your information from?
First-hand experience. And the nice part about it is I question the exact same thing, but I've had enough corroboration from other people that I just gave up questioning it. The reality is, as far as can I give you evidence? No, frankly, I can't. Would I if I could? Yeah, depending on what evidence you were looking for. Okay, but unfortunately, all I've got is physical evidence that other people have seen that I have never bothered taking photographs of. And I'm not about to give reports to anybody or names about anybody that's seen any of it. It's just not going to happen. Unfortunately, yes, I realize this all sounds fantastical, and I've long held that my life is more science fiction than it is reality. Okay. But do I have physical proof? No. And if you think about the practicality of that question, if I had physical proof, when the CIA showed up on my doorstep, they'd have me locked up in some black box somewhere away from here. That's just the way that humans would operate.
Right. Right. So for you, and for people who don't know you, I know you better than a lot of people who are listening to this show. You write down, you catalog everything that you are shown or given.
Everything that I can, yes. And this is why many of the people, when people say, do you know this race? And they'll rattle off a name. And it's like, I don't necessarily know it by that name. We had somebody in here, and I forget what name they had given me. I wrote it down for reference point, but they asked me about it, and it had to do with, as it turned out, it had to do with the Wara. They knew them by a different name. But when they laid out the information they had, it was pretty black and white. That's this race. Okay, I was handed at one point, and I cannot find it amongst my electronic data, I was handed an entire file of races from the government that somebody got purportedly from the government. Many of the races that were described are named by file number. I know them by name. Now, I've been asked, well, how do I get the names? Many times I understand what they're saying. Sometimes it's a question of trying to figure out what to call them based on the way they're behaving. Because certain languages don't translate into spoken language. The Zerziks, they don't have a vocal language. Of course, they don't have a physical body to have a vocal language.
Makes sense. Makes current sense. So for you, as you are gathering your information, how much of your information is actually coming from off-world?
That depends on your definition. See, the reason I say that is because when I'm dealing with, for instance, the Swazian race, okay, most of it comes from off-world because I went off-world to get it. Okay, some of it comes from here because I've had contact with them here. So it depends on what you call off-world and on-world. Okay, when we're talking about the Chitauri, none of it came from off-world because, well, they're not off-worlders. Okay, the Elfid race I've known for centuries. And yeah, I do mean that literally, but then, of course, I've got memories that date back that far. And yes, I did have a very logic-based individual check into the information and looked at the circumstantial evidence, and his conclusion was real simple. He goes, look, you've got enough circumstantial evidence. He says, you're not going to get physical proof, but you've got enough circumstantial evidence for what you're laying out that you could have somebody convicted of murdering somebody where the victim died 100 years before the accused was born. Right. It was actually and this sounds really bad, but it was actually a psychiatrist that discovered the first evidence of that corroborated the first evidence of being taken. My father corroborated it years later, like re-corroborated it and verified the whole 9 yards on his deathbed. So no, you can't even talk to him. So much as I would love to be able to sit down and go, here is the physical proof of it, that's not possible. The only physical proof I can give people is when I talk about the speed that I can heal at. You can actually go to Penticton General if you've got the clearance to get the information. They've got records of me healing a broken bone that they had to bolt. They had to plate it back together. I healed the whole bone in 9 days. Now, that you can get proof if you know how to get the information. Okay. Sorry, the issue am I walking out of the morgue and getting the help to do so? Considering it happened on a military base, good luck getting the proof. And if you get it, by all means, do me a favor and pass it on to me. Because I would love the proof. All I've got is a whole pile of memories that are periodically corroborated by somebody else. Okay. Not the least of which was my vanishing off the map and my son nearly having a conniption when I didn't return right away and didn't get back until the following morning. Okay. Now, does that qualify as proof? Probably not. The problem is, I saw it posted really nicely one day that for those that the way it was put was for those that do not believe, there is no proof. And for those that do believe, there is none required. In my case, I would love to say that I'm completely off my nut. Unfortunately, I keep getting other people that turn around and go, I've seen what you're talking about or what you're talking about. I had somebody ship me photographs of a machine that they were building. And they said, I have no idea what it is. Do you? Well, I rattled off exactly what the thing was, told them what they had. And as it turned out, as soon as I told them what they had and how it worked, they realized why the emanations they were getting off it were wrong. They were looking for an electric pulse. And the reality was the way the item they had built worked on biomagnet. How do we put that? Cross between magnelectrics and gravatics. Okay. It literally was part of an interstellar transporter.
Makes sense. We've got about 45 seconds to go here. I'll save Nikki's question for the next half hour because it gets a little deep into one of your own personal experiences that we have talked about, a long time ago on this show, and probably good time to bring it up once again. So I will keep a little quiet on that one for right now, for when we return from the break. But, personal experience aside, it's pretty wild what's going on right now with the UFO world. It really is. And, the one thing that we always say is try and keep an open mind. You never know what's coming. You never know what is happening. And right now, the way everything is so up in the air, we don't know if we're going up, down, sideways, left, right, center. It's a UFO world. It's all encompassing, all confusing right now. R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection continues on Spaced Out Radio. When we return, more audience questions, starting with Nikki when we come back. All right, Keith, we're clear.
Okie doke. Geez, I think that one worked out much better than the first time somebody asked me that question.
It's all right. It's always going to be asked.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I just remember the first time somebody asked me that, my reaction was, shall we say, from a radio standpoint, a little less than sociable. But that's okay. You sorted that out in a hurry yourself. Yes, no wonder I have trouble trying to. And there's the one I was looking for.
I'm just going to mark Nikki's question here. I'm going to move this down. See how much I've missed here. Our room's not too chatty tonight. Normally it's like really smoking busy. Then again, it is a long weekend in the U.S., so there's the gorgeous and talented Kira. Jay Foxhunter, how you doing? The gorgeous Stephanie Jackson has returned, everyone. Jello Putin, how are you? Miata Tommy, good to see you. Smokin' Joe wants to know what both our shirts say. Mine is a jackalope. It's from the Chive.
I was going to say that almost sounded, I just about thought Jabberwocky.
Let's see. What does yours say? Move your hand. Astrology, Pisces, good day. Can't see the rest. Hold on. Let me zoom in on you.
Whoop.
Hold it up. Hold it up. Good day. Got to go a little bit higher, buddy. Insightful, adaptable, wise, extremist. Very nice.
The back of it has the bad day side of it.
Gotcha.
I gotta ask just because I'm now curious. Or are you actually still there?
I'm here.
Oh, there we go. I know I've heard the term jackalope before, but I forget why. I keep wanting to thinking it comes from Monty Python. Yeah,
it's a mysterious. It's a mysterious animal from Wyoming.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. What was this out of tune? Way out of tune.
You'd get along great with my brother. He plays as well.
Yeah, this one's so out of tune right now.
Well, this won't make you feel any better, but I can't tell. Of course, I swear I'm half tone deaf. Really? I didn't realize that. Yeah, the second one that's that way.
Oh, well. Way out of tune. There we go. Okay. Keith, we got about 1 minute. Big thank you to G West, Jeremy, Evil Carl ×2, and Michael for the amazing super chats. It's a fantastic way to support what we do here on a nightly basis on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you very much. Thank you to all of our brand new subscribers that are out there hanging on out, wondering what the hell is this all about? Well, this is R Keith Andrews in the ET Connection. Great to have all the veterans listening in tonight. We thank you for your service. And, of course, all our regulars in the chat rooms. We love you. Thank you for keeping on joining us, and we really do appreciate it. Here comes the second half of the show, starting here in 3 seconds. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us in. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection, which happens at the beginning of each month here on Spaced Out Radio, where we really rev up the woo train and get Keith, our conductor, hanging on out, driving this thing to wherever it needs to go. Keith, we're going to start with a question from Nikki here. Please talk about what happened when the U.S. government agents talked to you and tried to take you.
Well, I can't swear that they tried to take me because they certainly didn't do much of an effort on it. But they showed up on my doorstep looking for me by name. So I'm like, okay. And they asked if they could talk to me for a minute. I went, yeah. So I asked them if they wanted to come in. They said no, they wanted to go elsewhere. So I took them down to Tim Hortons. I figured it was coffee. What the heck? Went down to Tim Hortons, and the woman, when she showed up, told me she wasn't affiliated with anybody. So I'm like, okay. I mean, she was dressed. Of all the things in June, she was dressed in a fur coat. Now that tells you somewhere where the brains were. Because I don't know about you, but if you know anything about Canada in the Okanagan in June, that is not the time to wear a fur coat. So we went for coffee and we sat down, and no sooner did we sit down, and I had my back to the wall, and she's sitting facing me, and I said, and I just looked at her. I says, "You do realize we're being watched?" Well, she gets really panicky and starts looking around the room. Who's watching us? Who's listening in? I just shook my head and went, no, not in the room. And I pointed over my shoulder. I says, 2 blocks that way on the rooftop. They've got a shotgun mic. And she puts her hand on her throat, and she literally, it says, I didn't catch what she said, but she puts her hand here and muttered something. And a second later, she goes, are they still watching? I said, no, they just buggered off. So I started, she was asking questions about what I knew about them. So I was telling her, I says, if you're asking me what bases they've got, I said, I'm just plain not going to tell you. It's just that simple. Right. She goes, that's because you don't know. I said, well, have it any way you want it. I'm just not telling you. Right. And so she asked a bunch of other questions, and we got through about 4 hours of this. Well, it was 2 days at 2 hours apiece. And at the end of it, she goes, you didn't tell me anything that my government doesn't know. Now, let's remember that she told me she wasn't affiliated with anybody. She was just up here on research for her own purposes. So I just looked at her, and being subtle the way I am, I looked at her and I says, well, you got 1 of 2 choices. And I'll apologize to anybody listening in ahead of time because this is not going to be very polite. Okay, I just looked at her and I says, look, you got 1 of 2 choices. You can either accept the fact I'm sitting on information that your government doesn't understand, or your government is stupid. Take your pick. And she goes, you can't call my government stupid. I looked at her and I says, well, 2 things. 1, I'm an English, I majored in English. I learned how. Much more importantly, welcome to Canada. I call my own government stupid. What makes you think I'm going to think any more of yours? And so she ended up, she took me out onto a hillside, and I told her I don't go outside and sit around outside for a reason. Well, she complained that I wasn't looking directly at her to talk to her. And I says, I told you, take me for coffee at Tim's and I'll relax. Out here, there is no way I'm relaxing. Quite frankly, what she did was she sat me down on top of what she didn't know was she sat me down on top of an access portal into an underground base. I happen to know it was there, and I'm not overly impressed with being out there. So she says, "You're being awful rude. You wouldn't even look at me while you were talking to me." I says, "No, but you're the one that took me out in the middle of nowhere without any way of getting back here. And I told you I don't relax out here. So if you're hoping I'm going to apologize for it, scrap the idea. Ain't going to happen." And so did they try and abduct me? No. Okay. Did she get annoyed that I wasn't going to give her locations? Absolutely. Okay, and unfortunately, I get the same. It boils down to the same thing of, well, give me proof. See, the funny part about it is the government doesn't need proof. What they're looking for is to find out who knows what, so that they can control the flow of information. And part of the restriction on the information, I can certainly understand, because humans are a fearful race. Okay, they're a fearful species. Now, humans have trouble with color. Can you picture what's going to happen if you see a 7.5, 8.5 foot reptilian burying medieval weaponry? Now, I mean, the Srazazians have a really nice way of doing it. A human mace is about 2, maybe 3 pounds of metal on the end of a stick. A Srazazian mace is the same idea, except the head of it is the size of a medicine ball. So, of course, the CIA was asking me about some of what I'd gone through. And when I started listing off some of what I had seen in the underground bases, she got really quiet, and all of a sudden the conversation came to a close, which was rapidly followed by, "You haven't told me anything that our government doesn't know." Now, understand, my run-in with them, it wasn't the American military that I had to deal with. It was the Canadian one.
Right. Right. Get you. All right. Nikki's next question to you is, who are you on Atlantis?
Who was I? I was one of the rocket scientists up in the tower when Atlantis took off. The only reason I survived that was because 6 other people hit the wall before I did. Tell you, that was a messy day.
You mean took off?
I mean, Atlantis didn't sink. That's why they haven't found it. They found little outcroppings, but if you look at the Bimini Island, wrecks that they see that they show you, compare those towers that have fallen to the towers that fall on shuttle launch. Okay, what had happened was the locals at the time wanted Atlantean technology to defeat their enemies. And the Atlanteans went, you're not going to get it. Now, some of the Atlanteans wanted to pass the information on. And as such, they had set up an agreement with the locals to try and storm the front gate. Unbeknownst to them, a friend of mine who I have run into in this lifetime was working on a new power source, which evolved into the OTE drive. Okay, now he had just barely got it hooked up when there was an explosion. Somebody had crosswired and had sabotaged it. So when he went to fire it up to actually bring the power lines on and throw the force field up around it, it detonated. And what ended up happening is the city of what people called the city of Atlantis tilted at about a 40-degree angle, 30, maybe a 35, and just all of a sudden shot to orbit. Well, it did it without any warning. So the people that were walking around on the spires and the walkways ended up falling off. We lost a lot of good people that day. Okay, but the power system that my buddy had actually built, and he had built it without authorization. But the fact he got it running was the only reason we survived when we got to orbit. He didn't survive. He was right at the epicenter of the explosion. And in all fairness, when I ran into him this lifetime, he had carried with him through the next several lifetimes the fear that he had actually destroyed Atlantis. He didn't know Atlantis survived. Now, can I give you a name? No. I can't give you a name from my last life. But I do know I was actually I was one of the rocket scientists that handled the navigation.
All right, Nikki again is asking, what do you think would happen if all the abductees were to come together and marching to be heard?
Well, number one, they'd be heard. Would it have as big an impact? I would like to think so, because people working together can make a difference. And if they did it right, then at least people would come to the realization that, look, this many people from this many walks of life can't all be out of their mind, because many abductees come from very well-placed positions, very well-respected people, and they just don't talk about it, because the moment you do, you get the same question, and no offense taken. I'm doing better at that. The question of, well, where's your proof? Right. And considering the amount of effort that has been put into concealing the proof, it's no wonder there's a question around it. But you get that many people marching together going, we are not alone. You have to start listening when you've got that many people standing there going, this is real. People the ones that are just absolutely, no, you're absolutely wrong. You could have an Aldebaran standing right in front of you and then tell you he was a human that was just in good makeup. Okay. They would look at a Nudina, which is if you watch the movie Arrival, that's a Nudina. Okay. If they'd look at one of those and go, we're on really good drugs. Like, what did the government put in the air? The people that are absolutely, it doesn't exist, are not going to believe. The ones that are on the edge are going to be going, oh, well, that's either the best makeup on the planet, or we've got something real going on here. And of course, you'll end up with the other problem with people that have been going, it's real, it's real. Some will go, it's real, and then the second they get faced with the reality of it, with the actual physical reality, you'll get the few that'll snap completely and just lose total focus on life. So, I mean, you're looking at a real mixed bag of what will happen.
Makes sense.
I am a firm believer that if people start working together, we can actually make that sort of thing happen without the extreme negative conflicts.
Betty Boo is asking, Keith, can the elementals pass through bodies?
Well, that depends on which elemental. Okay. I mean, you don't want... the fire elemental technically can, but it leaves behind a crisp corpse. Right. The only elemental that can pass through a body without damaging the body is the spirit-based ones. Shadow-based can't get through them. The light-based will just absolutely flash fry the nervous system, as would the electrical-based. And you can picture what would happen if a magma-based elemental passed through a human body, what would happen to the human body. But no, the elementals are not non-corporeal on the whole.
All right. Let's go on here. Sean is asking, Keith, are the reptilians the controlling race?
Of who? Sorry, humans control themselves. No race is controlling the humans. If you talk to the Drakes, they want to control everybody, but they're not interested in dominating everybody. Like, they're not interested in doing it by force. The Tormenon will control the individuals that they end up buying or capturing. But Tormenon are mercenaries. Okay, and they buy and sell people as a way of life. Okay, so, but is there a race? I suspect that question is, who's controlling the humans? Humans control, and I will use that term very loosely, But humans control humans. None of the races do. If we go back in history, the Nordic race got here before the Consortium flagship did. And they did, and when they got here, humans looked and went, those are gods. And the Nordics, being the egocentric individuals they are, went, okay, we're gods. And they set up shop as the gods of the Norse, or they set up gods of the Norse, of the Romans, of the Greeks, by many different names. And then when the Consortium rolled into the area, the Consortium went, you're not gods, get out. Hence why the gods all of a sudden just seemed to vanish overnight. Was because they were evicted. Now, did they try and control mankind by, if you will, celestial influence? Yeah, absolutely. But in today's world, that doesn't happen because the Consortium itself is completely against it because of the fact it interrupts with human evolution. And it interrupts the entire civilization, the xeno-socioeconomic, evolution of the society, which completely derails the whole idea of a research center. Basically, Earth is the biggest library in the sector.
All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Sovereign. Are the Dracos mostly amphibious and their central bases are underwater?
The Dracos are actually off-worlders. Okay, but there are reptilians that are underwater. Okay. They're just not the Drakes. Okay, when you take a look at, I'm just trying to think of the name because there is, I can think of 2 or 3 right off the top of my head. There is, now we were talking about a shark-based reptile, shark-based waterborne, which aren't reptilian-based. But you've got the merfolk, which are not reptilian. Most of what's underwater are not reptilian. But many of them are amphib. Okay, and yeah, they do have, like, the Alphid race. There is a seaborne batch of them, as well as the sirens and mermaids that actually live underwater and have complete civilizations, one right at the base of the Marianas Trench, which is a really neat place to go, but not that easy for humans to get to. And mankind doesn't have the technology to get down that far yet.
Okay, let's move on to the next one, Keith, as we got just over 5 minutes to go here. Stick with Sovereign. What are the connections between fungus and aliens and cryptids?
Well, number one, they're all sentient. I was just looking at one here. What the heck is it? Sparenocton. Whoop. In other direction. I'm just scanning through my research, and yeah, the Sparenocton are a fungal race. Now, they didn't technically evolve on Earth. Well, there are other Sparenocton on other planets that have taken on slightly different forms. But in the underground, you'll find these little guys wandering around. The Arborians are another if you will, I don't know if you want to call them a fungal, they're a tree race. Okay, they are walking plants. Aliens are various different races. Cryptids, in most cases, are creatures that are not, some of them are alien in configuration, others are hiccups.
All right, let's move on here. And Space Cow is asking, can you tell us more about the sky blob thing? I have 11 photos of one.
That almost sounds like what you've got is a photo of and depending on how big it is, it almost sounds like she's got a photo of a Corlock. But that would be entertaining to see if she's got a picture of a large one. Usually they're only 160, 200 pounds. Mind you, that 160, 200 pounds can cover an awful pile of area. Now, if she's talking about a cloud formation, she may be talking about the ionization of ship hulls. At which point they pull the atmosphere around them as a concealment fashion.
All right, Football Cat. Do Canadians celebrate American holidays? No, we have our own. We've learned from our brothers and sisters to the south that we're allowed a day off every now and again, except on a radio show. All right, Sovereign. Where do alien monsters reside? More in trees or rocks or boulders?
Well, that depends. If you go to Zeta Reticuli, they are the trees or rocks or boulders. Okay, so if they're hiding in them, it's probably because one of the other monsters ate them. If you look at the Wara stay in the trees. Okay, they travel in amongst the trees. Wara are basically a real violent Sasquatch lookalike.
All right, let's get to one more here. So we got just under 2 minutes. Let's go to Jennifer. A little dark, but would any aliens you're aware of be suspect in feeding on stress hormones in humans? Example, Lush theory or adrenochrome conspiracy, or is that other?
Well, the Shadow Walkers are known to, they actually feed on blood. But yes, there are races that feed directly on fear. If I recall correctly, bingo. The Tellusians actually will feed on fear because they feed on modified photonics, and when fear is developed inside a human, it creates a different photoreactive. Okay, and that being said, the Tellusians will literally feed off of that field. Now, they don't cause it, they just capitalize on it.
Interesting. Football Cat wants to know, do mermaids have peaceful relationships with humans?
Sometimes. But humans have this brilliant idea. If they can capture a mermaid, that's a really good idea. In all fairness, it's only tit for tat, if you will. The sea elves used to actually collect humans to try and take them down to study them. And when they started doing that, it was really, for the humans they tried it with, it didn't work well. Because they take them underwater and they couldn't clue in that humans couldn't breathe underwater. So you can picture what happened. It took them forever to figure out that wasn't going to work. So they developed a way of actually creating an air bubble. They actually, in all fairness,
save it, because we got to go to break here at the top of the hour. 2 hours down, we got R Keith Andrews for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, the ET Connection. We will continue with your questions when we come back with R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. Okay, Keith, I'm just stepping out for a minute.
Absolutely. I'm going to go grab water.
All right.
I'll be right back. Sorry about that.
Try opening the window of the studio, see if that works.
I am back.
All right. Let's see here. All right. All right. Got about 1 minute, Keith.
Okie doke. And Derek Dougherty has a real simple question for us.
Sure.
Oh, he just wants to know if I'm Canadian.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you are.
Last I checked. Yeah, it's funny on this system, I can't actually access where to write. I can see the questions, like I can see some of the stuff scrolling up in the chat room, but
Right.
there's no way I can access the bottom end of it. And I think you said something about I can't.
Bear with me 2 seconds here, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jason, Magnus, and G West, Jeremy, Carl times 2, and Michael for the awesome super chats. Here we go with the third hour, guys.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to remind you that you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Also, we want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Metallogeny. Metallogeny is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's get to it. We got R Keith Andrews for another 30 minutes here on the mighty SOR. and we are glad to have him. And he appears every beginning of the month talking about some weird stuff that we call the ET connection. Keith, let's get to some questions right from our audience here. And where can we start? Oh, my goodness. Ange wants to know, all the way from Australia, were the mirror people in Atlantis?
More to the point, they were under it. They are not from Atlantis, though. The reason I say they were under it is because Atlantis itself, the majority of it was above water. Okay, so some merfolk were underneath it and had trade relations with them. But, to be clear, the merfolk were not from Atlantis. Although the merfolk did have a tendency of accidentally drowning Atlanteans, because Atlanteans don't drink water, don't breathe water any more than the merfolk do, or than humans do.
All right. Let's find another one here, shall we? Let's see here. Oh, my goodness. Let's see. I got to scroll way up for this, dude. So just bear with me.
Yep.
Nikki is asking, where did the lichens, a.k.a. werewolves, come from? What planet? What solar system?
Well, solar system, I'm not entirely certain, but they come from actually, I think it's the solar system. They come from Sirius. And they are not all. Lichen is actually the wrong term. That only refers to one of their race, or one of their species, if you will. It is a race, but the ones that are based on wolves are called lichen. But then you also have the ones that are based on the felines, the ones that are based on the bovines, on the sovines. Like there's a lot of, and the reason they call them lichen, by the way, they are not. It is not a question of them being able to bite people and turn them into one. That is not the way it works. You know, I mean, if you take one of what you would refer to as a werebat, if it bites you, you're likely to die simply because of the exchange of the saliva. You know, people don't become werewolves by being bitten by one. But the majority of them come from Sirius itself. What ended up happening is that there were a few of them that were left behind, right, and ended up getting connected with the woods people here and having offspring. Net result, you get some pretty twisted individuals.
All right, let's move on here. Football Cat is asking, do mermaids have peaceful relationships with humans?
Some of them do. It depends. Like they usually have peaceful relations with most fishermen. You know, you get the occasional fisherman that is bound to determine they're going to capture a merman, a mermaid. Okay, now there are some of the merfolk that they don't have good relations with. Sirens have a very murderous tendency, and they will draw humans to their death for no other reason than well, it's kind of like humans like fish. Sirens go fishing for humans, and they can get them to crash and end up in the water. Well, they get the fish. Well, they get the humans.
All right, Space Count wants to know, Keith, is there a way for humans to date aliens?
Yeah, it's just a little touchy on some of the traditional dating methods. I mean, I would not recommend dating a Moldog because their whole process of dating a human is just not built to handle it. Now, you want to date an Orion, you want to date an Aldebaran or a Mobian, knock yourself out. Okay, and many of the hybrids are, if you are looking for somebody like that, your hybrid, what would be referred to as a half elfin or a half gray, half Pleiadian, it's easy to date them. They're built essentially the same way humans are. But there are certain things that, like I said, Moldokians, bad idea. Definitely do not try and date a Teklik. A Sparenok, you just plain don't want to. I mean, Sparenok are basically mushrooms. Which you can see how useless that's going to be in the dating field.
I can see that. Okay, let's move on here. And Jello is asking, how accurate is the star chart in the Betty and Barney Hill case?
I've never actually looked at it, but based on if you're referring to the astrological chart, in my opinion, now I personally know Betty and Barney Hill's niece. Okay, and I know in this case, I know the case rather well. I would be inclined to say if you're talking about a star chart, oh, wait a minute, he's talking about the star chart, the actual chart they were showing. Like he's talking about the actual astronomical chart that was out there. And that being said, as far as I'm aware, bear in mind, I'm not an astronomer, but my understanding is it's pretty bang on the money. It's just not from here. He's talking about the actual, like, if you're looking at a star chart from Earth, there's the stars where they belong. As far as I understand that chart, because when I was talking to their niece, we had a conversation about that. I was talking to their niece and Stan Friedman at the same time. And that chart is apparently pretty solid.
All right, let's move on here, Keith. Chris Mo is asking, is there a race that traveled the known universe and found the answers to everything? That seems a little impossible.
Yeah. And the answer to that question is there's one entity that has done that. One. Okay. And quite frankly, humans would call him God or any number of other names. The only other race that has traveled the known universe, and I mean the entirety of it, and we're talking if you take the entire race and the fact that it's scattered, okay, there's only one individual that's done the whole 9 yards. But if you take the Zerziks, that race has scoured amongst them, and the fact that they are mentally linked together, they have scoured the entirety of the universe. And now, found the answers to everything? Absolutely not. If they'd found the answers to everything, they would no longer be Zerziks. They would have gone home. But are they a knowledgeable race? Extremely.
All right, let's get to Joe's question. Is it a good idea to point a laser pointer at a low-flying UFO or a flashlight?
Is it a good idea?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's not so much a good idea as it's not a bad idea. I mean, it ain't going to do any damage. That's for absolute certainty in my eyes. Unless you've got one heck of a laser pointer. And my guess is we're not talking about somebody that's got a hellbore laser. A hellbore laser, by the way, will punch a hole in a mountaintop at 100 miles. If you point one of those at a starship, not nice. They're not going to take it well. But a standard penlight laser, the odds are they're not going to see it. And in answer to the question that obviously goes behind that, what happens is the scanners they've got will pick up the human's intention of trying to get their attention and come down and take a look. But that is a telepathic scan they're using. That is not an optical relay.
All right. Gloria is asking, have you heard of David Paulides' missing 411? If so, what do you think is happening to people?
Now, is the 411, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 411, the missing flight 411, that's the one that just vanished and took 200 and some odd people with it?
No. Missing 411 is David Paulides' people who vanish without a trace, and there's no reason for them to vanish.
Oh, okay, that's wormhole activity. See, scattered throughout the planet, there are many wormholes. Okay, and some of these people actually show up. The problem is because of the electromagnetic field they go through, many of them forget entirely who they are, which means they get listed as vagrants or they get listed as a John Doe if they end up dead. And nobody knows who they are because most of them vanish without actually having a criminal record. So you got nothing to work with. But I've known of people that were walking along in Canada and the next second were in deep France. Right. Without a passport, without any way of getting there, and no knowledge of how they got there. But that's a terrestrial wormhole that they're hitting. In most cases. Once in a while, it's an abduction that was done by a rookie crew that put the guy back in the wrong place. And instead of clouding the mind, wipe the poor thing out. It does happen, but...
YJ is asking, were mythical beasts alien engineered or terrestrial?
Most of them are terrestrial evolved. Okay, and many of the mythical beasts that he's talking about, like for instance, dragons were terrestrial. As a matter of fact, about 15 years ago, they actually found the skeleton in England of a little lizard with a dual nasal cavity, one side of which was absolutely charred to the bone. Like it was just blackened with soot. The other side was bone clean. Right. And there was they found inside the nasal cavity something that looked similar to an eardrum, but they figure worked like a spark for a methane expulsion. Net result, fire-breathing dragons. Now, granted, the one they found was only about 2 feet long. But you take did unicorns used to exist? Yeah. Okay, most of these animals did exist. As a matter of fact, most of them still do. They just don't live on the surface. Or they live in the deep jungles or right out in the middle of nowhere. But, I mean, if you take a look at the chupacabra was a Moldakian, basically it was a Moldakian pet that got away. Or a few Moldakian. I don't get the feeling there's only one chupacabra out there.
Okay, let's move on here. Kira is asking, are double rainbows used as ET portals, and if so, by what ships?
Number one, no. And therefore, no. A double rainbow is an atmospheric modification that happens because of terrestrial atmospheric interactions. It's an optical thing that people see. It's not something that's built.
Okay. Let's see here. Moving on. Space Cow is asking, do aliens get intoxicated?
Absolutely. Not exactly on beer, but you get the idea. Most carnivores like something in there that amounts to blood wine. And guess what the main ingredient is?
Humans.
Well, in all fairness, various different races, because different types of blood produce a different flavor of wine. And if you get a decent, I forget what the term is, toxicologist. Nope, that's wrong. Although technically it's right. A beer maker. Right. if you mixologist, that's what it is. You get the right one, they can come up with some really neat flavors.
All right. Nikki is asking, what star specifically do the Lyran cats come from?
They actually come from, well, they're called Lyran cats because they come from Lyra. That's the easy part. If I recall correctly, they come from the second planet. Or more to the point, that's where they started.
That's it?
Well, I mean, how many different places can they come from? Like, you know,
Well, I don't
the
know.
reality is that, you know, I can't give you a specific, you know, if you will, three point gridlock for it. But they come from the Lyran star system. I believe the second planet from the sun.
Welcome, hey now, to our chat room. Thank you for joining us. Will the Greys ever call on humanity as allies in war?
The answer is, in all likelihood, yes, but that is likely to be a century or two down the road. Primarily because humans have to grow up and learn how to get along before they could ever become allies to anybody. See, the Greys come in, that I'm aware of, about 15 different skeletal configurations, plus the controllers. Okay. And they do not treat each other any differently based on skin color or skeletal configuration at all. And until humans get to the point where they realize that that is literally the key to world unity, until they get to that point, the Greys will not do what they call trust in an ally that cannot trust itself, or more to the point, that will not trust itself. The ironic part is that humans were built for war, which is why they are as aggressive as they are.
All right. Let me see here as we continue on with our questions for our audience. And this goes to, where'd it go here? Michelle is asking, hi, awesome R Keith. Do you know who brought cannabis to Earth? The Dogon tribe says it came from Sirius.
Well, I won't debate what the Dogon tribe says. Okay, but I will tell you this. From my understanding, Esau grew it herself. Esau is who most people consider Gaia or Mother Nature or Mother Earth. Okay, it's just she told me what her name was, that's all. Because, see, Earth itself is another race. Earth itself is a Caboran, aka a planetary-sized race. Now, technically, it is possible that an emissary from Sirius may well have brought a strand of it here. But my understanding is Esau herself grew it. Because cannabis is a natural plant here.
Okay. Let's move on to another question. And this goes to Excalibur. Which species would be the most helpful with questions about science?
Now that's a bit of a toss-up. You know, when we take a look at the gray controllers, they're fabulous at it. The Udina, if you can understand them, are far more knowledgeable in many forms. Problem is, humans are relegated to understanding base 10 mathematics. And the simple reality of it is there is one formula that mankind has not pieced together. Okay. The theory of relativity that mankind is working with is not the original one. Okay, and the original one is not a mathematical equation. Now, don't get me wrong. The equation E equals mc squared is a very valuable and very real equation. But the original theory of relativity was 1 plus 1 equals 3. It is not mathematical.
We got time for one more, Keith, as we got about a minute left. Let's get to Kira. And that is, what beings have glass-like bodies with rainbow energy?
That is an excellent question. I just wonder if I'm just scanning through to see if I've actually got them. And there's a few that look like fiber optic, which is what she's referring to. See, the Wawawan would look similar to that. They are refractive. They would look very similar to glass, but they work on a gravitic field. They're a pure energy, but they're gravitic. But the way that the energy shifts, that the light shifts, because of their body, would look very similar to glass. So I'm thinking she's referring to the Wawawan.
All right, my friend, always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, and we will talk to you next week, or next month, or next year. No, probably next month. R Keith Andrews.
Next month. We may talk to you before that, but
yeah, R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We love them around here. We'll be back with the news and the thought of the day. Stay tuned on Spaced Out Radio. All right, buddy. Word it clear.
Okay, doke.
Great show, man. Great show. Great show.
Well done once again. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you to the audience for bringing some seriously good questions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
Without the audience, without the questions, we would have a lot more complications with it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I will let you go here, my friend, so I can get ready for the news.
Okie doke.
All right, buddy.
Have a good one.
You take care. We'll talk soon.
Yep.
Bye. R Keith Andrews, everybody. Love him. Love him. Whew. Hey, Jim Chambers, what's going on? Thank you for joining us. My head is hot. What's going on, people? Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you, Football Cat. I've got about 3.5 inches to go. Yeah, you got our Space Scout. You got our heat now. All right, so I'm hearing rumors the Canadian border may open on June or July 21st or July 27th. Smeza in Twitchland, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Anyhow, speaking of which, by the way, great job, Duke, tonight in the chat room. Thank you. Anyhow, if that happens, we are going to be planning a weekend getaway in Las Vegas. Got to make sure, there's two things we got to make sure. Number one, when is the border going to open? And number two, I got to figure out, being Canadian, if we got to get shots or not to go across the border. So we will see. We're playing it by ear. But if it is July 21st to 27th, 2.5 months, puts us at probably the second or third weekend of October for the SOR party. So once we make the official announcement that we are going to have our Vegas party, I want to take names of everybody who is going to join in that. I don't want a bunch of yes people saying you're coming and then you don't show. I want to take actual names because SOR Media Ventures wants to make sure that we have swag bags for everybody who goes there, who joins us. All right? We want to make sure that everybody gets a little something from us. Probably a t-shirt, some stickers, and probably some other stuff. Miata Tommy, if you're in British Columbia, everywhere. So I want you to keep that in mind, because I know for the last number of months we've had a lot of people asking, okay, when is this Vegas party? When are we doing it? We got to do it with you. So I'm waiting on the border, and I want to make sure that I get some numbers for people showing up, because I want to make sure that we can take care of all of you guys, okay, and get you guys some nice swag and stuff. Okay. I haven't planned any details yet, though. Working on that. Working on that. Kira's going to come to Vegas. Even though she's like, good night, Spaced Out Radio. She's coming to Vegas. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. I'm the guy behind the microphone and the fantastic hairdo. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, the news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the insurable. Every cautious entrepreneur has insurance for major medical expenses, life insurance, and affiliation to health systems for eventuality. But did you know that you can also make a sure case if aliens kidnap you? Yep. World UFO Days happened, a date promoted by those who believe that a world watches over us. Regarding the date, the insurance comparator, Acierto.com explains what the policies that project you are about if one day you get snapped up by aliens. Yes. The journalist Jaime Maussan, the main promoter of the investigation of the UFO phenomena in Latin America, became popular with that phrase to refer to the extraterrestrial presence on Earth. But it turns out that perhaps you can do something to protect yourself. As the name implies, Alien abduction insurance is now a thing. It is a product designed to cover the insured's family in the event of being abducted by aliens, although they may also include other services. They work with like normal insurance, paying a monthly premium that would last a lifetime. The first company to offer such services of this type was UFO Abduction Insurance Company in Florida in the early 1990s, in full boom of the X-Files. According to sources consulted by acierto.com, at the time it would have cost about 350 pesos and included coverage such as a psychiatric assistance, protection against public derision, and even compensation for the family if the alien ate you. The most interesting part about this little piece of trivia, thousands of people bought this policy. So who would buy these policies? Well, I would. Didn't know it existed. The main reason to subscribe an insurance agent against abductions is simple, that the life insurance usually does not take responsibility in case of disappearance. They affirm that acierto.com. In other words, there must be an official declaration of death so that the beneficiary can collect. In disappearances, as a general rule, 10 years are established. The moment death is declared, the person is no longer missing. In any case, the usual coverage would be psychiatric care, Byrd's transporter psychosis, alien pregnancy in men and women, injuries from extraterrestrial examinations, and the like. If we return to Earth, the lost wages would be compensated. And if the alien took our car, we would be replaced with another one. Oh my gosh, this sounds awesome. The most curious thing about all of this is that one of the requirements for a risk to be insurable is that it be possible. They point out from the Acierto comparator, that is it something real that may happen in the future? Something certainly doubtful in this case. In fact, it is difficult to find these products online. However, an uncertain and random risk would be. Beyond UFO alien abduction insurance, other insurers would have marketed alien abduction insurance. For example, good fellow Rebecca Ingrams Pearson from London for 2,700 pesos a year, but it is said that he stopped doing so after almost 40 subscribers took this insurance, died suddenly in 1997. Lloyd's, for its part, estimates that it has about 60,000 such policies in the United States. The St. Lawrence Agency, for its part, would have provided a policy against abductions for about 234 pesos a month, which coverage included up to $10 million. But it would have small print. For example, if we were kidnapped by aliens, but we returned to Earth, we would have to provide proof of kidnapping with an alien signature. In addition, it would have a trick. They would only pay $1 a year so that it would take up to 10 million years to collect all the insured capital. Well, that's not very fair. That doesn't seem right. Spending $3 a month only to get $1 a year? My goodness. Nearly 2/3 of all Americans believe that extraterrestrials exist on other planets, but 87% of them think that they are not a threat in one way or another, according to a new survey. Pew Research surveyed 10,417 Americans, adults between June 14th and June 24th, and found that 65% of respondents believe that extraterrestrials exist on other planets, a similar figure to a survey released by CBS News in May. 51% of respondents believe that unidentified aerial phenomena reported by the military are likely evidence of intelligent life outside of Earth. Of that figure, 40% believe there is probability evidence of extraterrestrial life, and 11% believe there is definitely evidence. Conversely, 47% of respondents believe the reports are probably, or 36%, or definitely at 11% not evidence of life outside this planet. Perhaps not surprisingly, those who think there is intelligent life outside of Earth are more inclined than others to see military reports of UFOs as evidence, according to 69% and 16% respectively, Pew wrote in a statement. Let's see here. What else did they come up with? Yeah, NASA administrator said that he thinks we're not alone after acknowledging that he had read the classified report. Additionally, 87% of Americans surveyed by Pew think extraterrestrial life, if it exists, is not a threat at all. 51% think this, and a minor threat of 36%. Conversely, just 1 in 10 say that UFOs are a major threat to U.S. national security. When asked for a best guess, 17% of the respondents said intelligent life would be friendly, 7% said unfriendly, and 74% said neither. Some segments of the public are more likely than others to believe that intelligent life exists on other planets, Pew said. This view is especially pronounced among younger Americans. About 3/4, 76% of adults under the age of 30 say intelligent life exists on other planets versus 57% of those 50 and older. See what I said? This statistic actually proves something. Where I have said for weeks and months that the U.S. government is waiting for the elderly to die off so that number goes higher in belief. Then they'll introduce aliens. The statistics now show it. Although the survey was done prior to the Pentagon's release of the UFO report, the findings were not made public until June 30th, 2 days prior to World UFO Day. Last week, the long-awaited report from the Pentagon on the subject of unidentified aerial phenomena offered no explanation for 143 of the 144 observations dating back to 2004. Sticking with UFOs, around 60 U.S. spy satellites whiz overhead, some of which are capable of making out pieces of debris measuring tens of inches. Radar stations and other receivers help track upwards of 200,000 aircraft at any moment. Despite such feats of remote sensing, on June 25th, the U.S. government confirmed the UFO report that it had amassed more than 100 cases of aerial events, such as seemingly impossible maneuvers of an object captured on camera by Navy pilots that cannot be identified. While some accounts seem puzzling when taken at face value, airspace researchers insist that just because you can't identify an object in the air doesn't mean that the object is otherworldly. Oh, here we go. The sky is a big and diverse place, full of birds, locusts, swarms, thunderclouds, drones, fighter jets, plastic bags, and much, much more. Surveillance systems exist, but they tend to be expensive and tailored to meet specific, well-defined needs, none of which is to single out every last flying object. Simply put, considering how patchy our morning sky monitoring systems are, perhaps it's more surprising the government has noticed only 100 or so UFOs. There isn't one magical surveillance system that sees every plane, says Andrew Weiner, a member of the Homeland Protection and Air Traffic Control Division at MIT Lincoln Laboratory. It's not like we have this master perspective of the sky, he notes, which means our airspace is full of mysterious but mundane objects. Yes, the 9-page report, which was released by the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, is heavy on caveats and light on conclusions. It opts for more than one neutral, and what is this moth doing right there? Terrible. Anyways, I got buzzed by a moth in my... There it is again, you dirty jerk. I'm trying to read the news here. Thank you for flying in the other side of the studio. Of the 144% or reports considered, nearly half of the phenomena registered on just one sensor, raising the odds that some sort of mechanical glitch caused the anomaly. One incident could be identified. It was a deflating balloon, aka Roswell. If American presidents can leverage spy satellites to troll the Iranian military with high-definition snaps of an embarrassing mishap from his phone, why can't the U.S. government narrow the range of possibilities between trash bags and aliens? Satellite imagery comes broadly in two varieties. Weather satellites image large swaths of the planet at once, but their pictures are usually blurry, with each pixel covering perhaps a mile or two. That resolution might be able to spot the gaudy motherships from Independence Day, but wouldn't be much use against subtler ET vehicles. Satellites with keen enough eyes to pick out more modest aircraft, meanwhile, have a much tighter field of view and need to be precisely aimed at a specific target. They are also few and far between. Jonathan McDowell, a satellite tracker and researcher at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, has estimated that these spacecraft capture just a few percent of the Earth's surface each day. The odds are not in the U.S. government's favor that any of its 143 UAP happen to pass right under one of those satellites just as they snapped a picture. How about they just go over to NASA and get all of those films where they've cut the feed to strange things flying by? Anybody thought of that? Wouldn't that make sense? Or is it just me? I don't get it. Like, come on. What are we doing here? Just frustrating. With all the things going on in the world, let's face it, President Duarte in the Philippines, he's got some pretty strange laws happening there. All right? Well, here's another one that they've come up with. Apparently, he has a pet peeve. Dirty cars. With all things going on in the world, the Philippine National Police has different priorities maintaining clean cars. New guidelines have been implemented for personnel and civilians at PNP headquarters, Camp Crame in Quezon City in the Manila National Regional Capital. Police vehicles need to be washed before being allowed entry into Camp Crame, reads an order from the Headquarters Supportive Service obtained by the Star. The new rule doesn't just affect those who work for PNP. The same goes for anyone who requires access to PNP offices, so contractors, deliveries, civilians, visitors, anyone conducting routine business, obtaining permits or documents, getting a criminal record check will be turned away at the gates if their vehicle isn't sparkling. A police official who wished to remain anonymous said the new policy went into effect Friday. What if you came from an operation? You will need to report back to Crame. Will you still think of getting the car washed first? The order came from PNP Chief General Guillermo Elazar, who has launched an intensified cleanliness program to ensure that police stations, precincts, and offices are spotless. In a COVID world, it makes sense, but the exteriors of vehicles seems a bit excessive. Personnel returning from an operation or visitors simply running an errand being forced to ensure a clean car or find a car wash or available hose before heading over to Camp Crane can be quite an inconvenience. According to the report, other guidelines include officers being posted around headquarters to issue citations to anyone speeding, barring any motorcycles from entering without proper stickers, as well as issuing violation tickets to those not following COVID protocol. Prior to his appointment as PNP chief in May, Elazar, a tough disciplinarian who wants to make his mark during the short tenure he has, served as the commander of the Joint Task Force COVID Shield in 2020. This guy really has his priorities straight, doesn't he? All right, let's move on. A group of thugs axed down trees, intimidated forestry staff, and kicked a bunch of ducks while camping at a beauty spot. Police were called after the group of men were seen damaging environmentally protected areas at Glenmore Scottish Highlands. Nearby residents complained about the noise coming from the camp, the extensive litter left behind, and the group's fire, which was lit on peaty ground. Pictures of the scene show abandoned tents, plastic bags and bottles strewn across the floor, and chunks of wood chopped from a nearby tree. The men were said to have been verbally abusive to Forestry and Land Scotland staff and collected deadwood from environmentally designated areas. FLS staff said they also received complaints from distressed visitors about the group kicking ducks. Who goes and kicks a duck? You know who does that? Soccer fan. You wouldn't see football fan, baseball fan, or hockey fan, or golf fan doing that. No, soccer fan does that because they're a bunch of hooligans. Prove me wrong, people. Prove me wrong. They're kicking ducks now. Anyways, Laura McNally, FLS Area Visitor Service Manager, said, situations such as this can be very intimidating for our staff, and I have to commend our Glenmore team for dealing with this so professionally over the course of 3 days. We engaged with a group of young men on Saturday to explain why they had to move their camp and to clarify appropriate behaviors, but this fell on deaf ears and was met with abuse. Further engagement met with the same response. Police Scotland did attend, and the group seemed to comply, but simply moved their camp. We've seen all other sorts of groups put on a show of good behavior when they have to leave, and we continue to work closely with our local police partners to learn lessons from this event. Antisocial behavior by a small group can spoil a visit for everyone else. This case, no matter where it can turn, or this is the case where no matter which, whatever she's trying to say, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, a globally wanted con artist getting arrested after prostitutes literally kicked his ass. Sounds like something from an Ocean's 11 movie, doesn't it? But it turns out it actually happened. Brunio Jordan Enzo Verhagen is a Suriname-born con man with a Dutch citizenship. He's apparently very much into what he does. Though only 27, Verhagen has amassed an impressive list of charges, including fraud and scam. However, it seems, here's the answer coming up. What did I just tell you? However, it seems that he finally been brought to justice when trying to impersonate a famous European soccer player in Colombia. A group of prostitutes ended up calling his bluff. When Verhagen couldn't produce the kind of riches he claimed to have, the sex workers started pummeling him to the point that cops were called to save his life. And you can probably guess how the whole thing ends up when police get their hands on a famous scammer. But let's take it deeper and look at it. See, this is what happens. Soccer hooligan impersonates soccer player, gets his butt kicked by a bunch of people who don't want anything to do with fake soccer guy. Then he gets arrested because he's a con man. Pretty much how it breaks down. All right, well, you know what? Let's just get to it. Let's just get to the thought of the day. Thought of the day happens at every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's thought of the day is as follows. In your opinion, are ETs calling the shots on disclosure? Eric with a K, we're his fourth favorite show. Now we're number 4. He says, yep. Way to go into that explanation there, Eric with a K. Evil Carl, in some ways yes and no. It's the humans, us, that need to take control and start making positive changes to show the beings that we are trying to make a positive change for the good and stick with it. Because we have that free will, they will not interfere unless we really mess up. Bruce, the ET is already disclosed. I've done over 3 years sharing their disclosure evidence via multiple mediums as best as possible. Unfortunately, the mass media and academia are too controlled for the evidence to break through just yet. Those that have checked it out know it's solid. Now let's go to ET UFO disclosure. ESN, or Extraterrestrial Subnation Narrative, is a PSYOP being deployed by, this guy loves his acronyms, HETWOW, Human ET Living Among Us. Can we trust people who actually make up their own acronyms? I don't think we can. Screaming Dean in Australia, ETs are calling the shots for sure, but not on disclosure. The U.S. government is calling those ones. Let's see. Andrew, once the phenomena is 100% confirmed publicly, then what? Who's going to control the narrative? The experiencers and the people who put the work in need to be ready. Get ahead of the curve. Let's go over to Canadian Joe. I have to speculate that ET is calling the shots on disclosure. If ET does exist and so many more advanced than us, you'd think they would control the timeline for their eventual reveal. Roger, the ETs don't care. They are highly visible all the time, hence so many sightings. The world has a greedy group wanting to keep ETs and the ET technology for their own use when so desired. And we got time for a couple of more. Andrew, no, it's up to the people of Earth to knock their cap off. And 13 Ballads gets the final one tonight. Nope. So ET lives on Planet X, hence likely radio signals from an alien Mork and Mindy must be cluttering the solar system. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again next show on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you to Captain Shirk for the SOR Newswire, and to our best bud in the world, R Keith Andrews and the ET Connection. We love him around here. We'll talk to Keith next month. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music. Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone tuning us in on YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
You're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Good stuff right there, people. Good stuff. Oh. By the way, for those of you who may not have seen so far, thank you for the super chat, Grantavius. Appreciate that, man. Thank you. You'll notice I have a new friend right here. This was sent to me by Alaska's greatest athlete, the gorgeous Emily Bigelow. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? It's like a Buddha alien. She is beautiful. Give you a nice little close-up here. Look at her eyes. Is that not gorgeous? I love her. She gets a new home right there. Totally gets a new home. Thank you, Alaska's greatest athlete. All right. Emily. Who needs an A? Well, let me check the card here. She is beautiful. Hi, Nine Tails Foxtrot. How are you? This is Strepsil, and I think she belongs to you, or Strepsil. She is gorgeous. I love her. Strepsil. I'm going to tell you right now, Alaska's greatest athlete. It's very nice printing. She's beautiful, though. Yes, exactly, Aussie Ange. Strepsil. There you go. I love it. I think it's great. Where are we? Hey, Polar Eclipse, how are you? Let's go. Grantavius, how can I tell you my story? You know what I'm going to start doing? I'm going to be blunt with you. I'm just going to run to the bathroom and then I'll explain. How about that? Sorry about that. All right, I'm back. Is B Huff here? Or B Huff has arrived? Cool. All right, we are downloading the show. I can smell my breath. Samantha Mowat will be coming on, I believe, tomorrow night with Lynn Wallington. So Samantha Mowat tomorrow night, and then Lynn is filling in for Michael on Sunday, and Science Bob McGuire will be her guest. Hey, Chris Moe, what is happening? So make sure you tune on in tomorrow night. Samantha Mowat, Science Bob on Sunday. I'm back Monday with Lon Strickler, talking phantoms and monsters. Like this. There we go. And yeah, Canada is on fire, literally. The only part of Canada that's not on fire right now is the Montreal Canadiens in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You guys are in for a treat tomorrow night. I agree with you, Jim Chambers. Hey, Aussie Rob, how's tomorrow looking? How them ham hocks? Okay, so I'm having an idea here that I am going to have. I don't normally do this, but one night I am going to have an experiencer show. So what I am going to do is I am going to take your stories on the air live. I haven't normally done that, but I think it's time with StreamYard that we start looking into that possibility. Oh, that's good ham hock there, Rob. Looking a little dry right now. You may want to moisturize. Oh, where does my audio? It's right there. In there. Any questions from any of you? Whether it's the show, whether it's Vegas or whatever, ask away. Now is the time. How can you say goodnight, Ozzy Ange? It's only like about 5 o'clock your time. Oh, shoot. I just screwed that up. Let's go like this. And let's get rid of that. I had a feeling I screwed that up. All right, let's get rid of that. Cut. This become. Yeah, let's just save that as. Give me 2 seconds here, guys. I screwed up here. And then we'll go like this. Oh, goodness, I did it again. Snip. I'll save this as R3. And then this will be just give me 2 seconds, guys, because that could have been a major boo-boo right there. All right. Sorry about that. Any experiences with the Greys? Let's start off with Grand Mass. Or hold on. Let me scroll up here. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, first question is, Brian, how do I get my stories on the Experiencer episode? I will put a link on the chat room for that. And that's how you guys can enter to tell me your stories. Then you click on the link and you bring up your camera and your microphone, and boom, you're on. That's simple. That's the way we're going to do it. That's the way we're going to do it. And if it works, we'll do it a little bit more often. Grandmaster, what is there that's awesome to do in Vegas that you want to do? The reason why I want to go to Vegas with all of you guys is because A, I want to meet you. B, I've never done an SOR get together like that. And C, although it's like really West Coast, Vegas is still quite cheap to get to for everybody, especially in the US. And it just makes it easier that we can all just gather in one place. Because if we did it on the West Coast, then people on the East or Central probably aren't going to come. If we did it on the East Coast, the people in the West are probably not going to come. So Vegas is just one of those places where we could just all gather. And so the plan is, if I have it written in my head properly right now, is during the day, you can do what you want. You can totally do whatever you want. In the evening, we'll meet up for, we could meet up for dinner somewhere or something along those lines. And then we'll find a nice center bar or something just to gather and chat around. So I am, once the border opens up, I'm going to be seriously with my team planning everything. for Vegas. And whoever wants to come can come. I'm not charging any money for it. All right. I'm not charging money to hang out. In fact, I want to make sure that the only thing I want to know is who is guaranteed coming. That's all I want to know. Because if you're coming, I want to make sure that, and my business partner, Ashley, and I have already talked about it. We want to make sure that everybody who goes there or who makes the trek to Vegas can get some of our swag and have some pictures taken and kind of hang out and just have a good night. That's all it is. It's about having a nice, chill, relaxing weekend with some like-minded people where we can all kind of get together and just kind of have some fun. That's what it's all about. No, that ain't the one. Where's... All right, so it's right after this. Should be right around there. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Should be right about there. I should cut it. Oh, I cut it early. Undo that, delete. We own the night. So probably right there. Is that where it is? Yeah, there we go. That's better. So that's kind of my plan so far, is that we all just kind of gather and have a good time. That's it. You guys can do what you want. Maybe what we'll do is, if you want, we can look into taking a day trip out to Area 51 or something along those lines, because I've never been there. I would like a picture with the famous sign and, of course, the mailbox that isn't a mailbox anymore. And so that's kind of where I'm leaning with everything. Real casual, real fun. We all just meet, hang out, and go from there. Like I said, there's no script. I'm going to invite some friends to come in. Okay. And my chapstick is dead. I got another one here. Where is it? This is Mrs. Filth's chapstick right here. Mrs. Filth's. Oh. Ever since this heat wave started, I've had cracked lips. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for, is I just want a good time to relax and chill with all of you. It's not going to be a conference setting. I'm going to invite some of my friends from the field to come on down. I already know a couple who are like, yeah, I definitely want to be there for that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I think it'll be a good party. It'll be a lot of fun. Any other questions about that? I'll answer here in a bit. Detailing Academy. Any experiences with the Greys, lads? Yes. Carl is a Gray. I've been taken by Greys. Greys are weird. Greys are weird. Grantavius, why does a night vision scope allow me to see more UFO phenomena than my eyes? Are they able to disappear? No, it's because the human eyes can't pick up so much stuff. That's why. You're going to see more with the technology, because don't forget, you have pollution, you have light pollution, you have haze, everything, and the night vision, I believe, goes right through that. That's why. Michelle, am I going to live stream the party? We will go live at a few of them. Sure, why not? Or maybe you hop on a plane from Alaska or from Australia and join us. That would be fun. Wouldn't it be fun to have sweet Michelle C time in Vegas? I think it would be fun. let's see here. Oh, I haven't got the jab yet, Jenny. Haven't got it yet. I know lovely Marie from Los Angeles is going to be there. Jennifer Hawkins is coming to Vegas for the party. I know Vinny and Fapster are going to be there. Kira's coming. No, there's not going to be an S&M party, Sovereign Farts. Kevin's probably going to come. No, Jeremy, we're not going to the Bunny Ranch, but you do what you have to do. Dave, cut your split screen off when we can see your computer screen. I know you can. That's my editing. I started this the other night to show you what I do, actually, during the show. It's my editing. How come you can't make it, Jennifer Hawkins? Are you not allowed in Vegas? Are you banned? Are you banned from Vegas? Hi, Lunar Tina. Melinda Leslie is in Sedona. She'll probably come up for it. I know Ben and Joe from UFO Garage are going to be there. Oh, Super Jenny, you're going to be around friends. It'll be a good time. You got to come. Clean up my screen a little bit. Yours, Johann Frey. Welcome. Well, let us know in October when you're going to be there, gorgeous Marie. We'll make sure it happens. Grantavius, with all the videos that have come out, which is the most compelling? I really liked the one with the night vision green screen. I love that one. That one really, really hit me. That one was cool. Collaboration how? Nine Tails. Paul Holland, how's that beautiful blue Les Paul? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Frankly, I'll be honest with you. I don't care if there's 5 of you who show up or if there's like 25 or 50 who show up. I just want to make sure we're there for a good time. The more the merrier. Let's stop talking the shot in the chat room, please. Okay. Those who feel comfortable in getting it can get it. Those who feel comfortable in not getting it are not getting it. We don't need to have the great fake debate when none of us have the real information. It's all about personal comfortability. That's where we'll leave it. I've already had enough tension with Lockbeard tonight. I don't know what was up his ass. Race fans coming to Vegas. Andrew, you have to go. You totally have to go, Andrew. Gosh darn, man. You've been a listener long enough. You better make it to Vegas. Luge Cypher, how are you? Welcome to our channel, man. Yeah, Duke, you restrained yourself very well there. I know Amy Vegas O is going to be there. You're welcome. Hey, UFO Not, how are you? Good to see you. Grandmaster is going to be in Vegas for the party. We got a fire update here. Let's see here. Oh, that'd be Caribou. what's happening here. All right. Anything new here? Actually, I can let me just quickly do this here and I'll show you something here. Where is she? I don't want to send those. I just want to download them. Give me 2 seconds. I'll show you some stuff here. Where did they all go? Oh, okay. Hold on. I put them in a file here. Show all. I'll just go like this. Give me 2 seconds here. So put these all in a folder. Oh. See about, give me 2 seconds here. Close that out. Move that over here where you guys can see it. Now let's see if I can do this here. So this here, we went driving. This is one fire. This is one fire here. You can see my mouse. This is another fire right here by this tree, way in the distance. Hello, Berja from Serbia. How are you? Welcome. So let's see if I can zoom in here. I don't want to write on it. Damn it. Why I don't want to write on it? Where are we here? So there's one fire there. There's another fire here. There's this fire in behind there. How do you pronounce your name? Hold on, now I gotta find out. Pronounce. And then if we go, hold on. And then if we go here, there's a fire here. There's a fire over here. And there's this massive fucker right here. This one's the closest to my house. Close. Close. Oh, Zanzibar. Urza. Those are called lightning strikes, not direct energy weapons, dude. So that's one photo. Don't save. We'll go to photo number 2. This is in a different area here. This is in Lone Butte. This is right down in between here, in behind the trees here, there's a lake. And, oh, hold on. Let's go that way. Let's go, where are we? That way. And hold on. That's way too much zoom. I'm way off. I got this stupid moth that's fucking with my screen right now. Where's the fire? Hold on. Okay. Hold on here. Well, I'm way off. This is a garbage photo. How the hell did this one get in here? Oh, yeah, there it is. So the fire. It's a different fire here. And it's all around here. That's on the other side of a lake. Let's go here. What's this one? Yeah, this is a big prick here too. This one right here. Big. That's a big prick and a half right there. See the guy fishing here? It's like, oh yeah, nothing's happening. I'm just gonna go fishing. Welcome to my area. What's this one here? Oh yeah, that's an overview of everything. Look at that, a bird. That's a nice picture of a bird right there. But yeah, that's all the other fires that I just showed you from a different angle. What's this one? This is a new one that sparked up today. This is Horse Lake. So that big picture where I circled big, that's it way over here. And then this one sparked up. This is where we had firefighters pass us to try and get to that one. And then this is kind of an overview of, where's my mouse? There it is. This one's kind of an overview from a logging road. So you got the big fire here, which I showed you guys. What the hell is my mouse doing? All right, there's my mouse. So that's that big one that I showed you earlier. There's the little one that was now from, notice in the last picture how small it was, and now you can see it way off in the distance, how much bigger it got. That was in like 20 minutes. And then you got, look at that sucker right there. This one's massive. And there's another one, you can't see it, but there is another one kind of in this area behind that mountain. And that one's kind of cool. And what do we got here? That's kind of a look at my area from a kind of a top of a hill. So I've showed you kind of this. This is the big, one of the other big ones. That's the one closest to my place. Then you got this one burning here. And you got the one burning right here. And this big prick here. Yeah. Nice. What's this one? Oh, yeah, that's that big sucker. That's southeast of me. No kidding. Are you ready for aliens, Luge? And then the final picture I have for you guys is this one here. That's a look from the lake. This is one of the fires right here. There's another one right here. And there's one in behind this mountain here. And then all the smoke is from that big one. Yeah. Gotta love it. Yeah. So now you kind of got to look at everything. They're pretty far away still, but they're there. They are there. I'll look that up. Aliens of Tange Mountain. Serbia's Magic Mountain. Oh, this looks cool. I'm going to pass this to my booking team to see if we can find somebody who can talk about this. Hold on. Can we find info? Thank you. We're going to try and track that down. That looks really cool. All right. I'm sorry I didn't draw a happy tree. Race fan's going everywhere in his razor. The guy is so proud of his razor, as you should be too. No, I'm not going to draw a happy tree, man. I'm going to bed in a minute here. Well, remember, tomorrow night on the show, Samantha Mowat will be Lynn Wallington's guest, talking ET Contact and everything extraterrestrial. And then on Sunday, she'll have Science Bob. Hi, Carbines. How you doing? And I'm taking the weekend off. I'll be back on Monday with Lon Strickler. And for all our American listeners, you guys have an amazing 4th of July weekend. Please stay safe. I love each and every one of you, and make sure that you all come back for Monday night, after a good party. And if you're in a hot area, don't light off fireworks. I know it's tradition, it's mandatory and everything, but better than forest fires right now. I will see you guys then. I'm out of here. You guys have a great one. Thank you for tuning on in. Goodbye.